On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will dive headfirst into shallow water as they review and break down the penultimate episode of Andor's first season. Will B2 become K2? Is Luthen a Force user? How hard will Serial fail? All these questions and more will be speculated on by the SWTS bros in this episode of the series. They'll also talk about Disney's CEO shakeup and what it could mean for Star Wars, as well as a treat for Jedi lovers at this year's Game Awards. Of course, the show will end with the Question of the Week responses and the latest round of Top 5 Star Wars Fan Artist Features. Punch it, Chewie!
Hey again! How about hey now, everybody? It's Matt, it's Nick, and we are back for a new episode of the SWTS. For those keeping score, that stands for Star Wars Time Show. You dig?
Indeed it does.
It's time to get down YouTube, of course. If you're on the live stream, we'd love for you to join. If you're not, 2:30p or as close as we can get EST on YouTube, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. And right now, I'm guessing YouTube is probably looking a little wonky for people, but as always, we're green on our side. Blame Google, blame the muskrats, blame who you gotta blame, but it's not our fault that the video probably sucks right now. All right, so we got some fun stuff to talk about today. Not a lot of stuff, but obviously we've got the penultimate episode of Andor to dig into, review, deep dive, break it down, flip it around, do what we do on a new episode of SWTS. I've got all sorts of tangents I want to go on with my friend Nick today to kind of see where his Jedi brain or Sith brain, depending on the week, might be angling towards. A lot of stuff on Luthen, and I know 1/6 Shooter brought this up weeks ago, but I want to dive back into Luthen's possible past, connections to the Force, so on and so forth. So we got that to look forward to after our breakdowns. We've got some Bob Iger stuff. He's back, taking over the reins as CEO of Disney. What could that mean for Star Wars movies? You know, some people may be, yay, Bob's back, but you gotta remember, Bob's the one that fucked everything up with The Last Jedi and Solo, so let's kind of pump the brakes a little bit on Big Bobby Boy's return. We've got some Jedi Survivor news coming for you. I mean, we are locked and loaded. But before we get there, since this is the Star Wars Time Show, it's perfect time to talk about Slumberland! That's right, my friends. This is the Slumberland Time Show. We've reskinned, we've given up our love for Star Wars, and now we are all in on Netflix-produced movies starring Jason Momoa. In all seriousness, though, it's pop culture talk, right? We do this. We try to give all of you degenerates out there, you geeks, you nerds, something to look forward to and waste your time on when you probably should be doing something more productive during your day. And today's pick is Slumberland, which came out last week. It's on Netflix, stars Jason Momoa and newcomer Marlo Barkley. And Nick, I have to say, this is one of those movies where the critics and the audience are on completely different ends of the spectrum. And I'm going to lean with the audience. On Rotten Tomatoes, Slumberland, as of yesterday, was sitting at a very horrific 37% tomato score. But audience has it tracking at 87%. And being someone that consumed it this past weekend, like I said, I have to go with the audience on this one. Now, Nick, I'm not saying this is a movie maybe for you and Taylor. I think you might enjoy it. But this is definitely a great flick for those families out there.
Okay.
In particular, And I think one of the reasons I initially latched into it for families that may be broken, single parents, parent died, stuff like that. But more importantly, dads with little ladies. Because that's really what this movie kind of focuses on. This young girl, she's an only child from a family that is broken due to her mother passing away. So being a father myself and having a little girl, it definitely, scratched some of those itches I like when I watch family movies. Momoa,
I saw the trailer for it, but we definitely I think it was like one of those ones that like they put right up front and center on Netflix, no matter who you are when you turn it on.
That and Netflix gave it no attention for promotion. Like it just kind of showed up. You know what I mean?
Netflix is doing that for a lot of stuff now because apparently there's one new show that just came out, or that Warrior Nun season 2.
Right. And people are like, we need a season 3, and I've never even watched season 1.
Yeah. But like no promotion on it, and apparently it's like the top 3 most watched seasons of new TV on Netflix. So
yeah, I've had it in my list, but I don't know about you, Nick. Does your Netflix list just always keep growing instead of shrinking? Yeah. So
yeah. I mean, we watched the first 2 episodes of Warrior Nun, 2 or 3, and it wasn't bad.
Suck you in.
It was It was interesting, but it was also like it was just weird. It was like religious kind of. It was almost like Constantine, but with like teenagers as like because it's like religious people fighting against the demonic forces, stuff like that. It was worth a watch to see.
Well, after 3 episodes, if it didn't convince you to keep going, I may just scratch it off my list at this point. I do need to whittle that fucker thing down because it's like it's the list of titles that are forgotten. I mean, that's all these lists are. Because if you really wanted to fucking watch something, you'd probably just watch it, right? We use this, I'll come back to it. My list. And as Nick said, and as I'm saying here, you look at your list at the end of the year and you've added 50 new titles to it without removing any. So, but yeah, apparently Netflix, I don't know if they didn't love the movie, finished product, but they didn't really put much into a promo machine. But that doesn't matter. If you're a sub and you need a flick to watch, Slumberland is a good one, especially with Thanksgiving coming up, the holidays coming up. This is a movie I could see families getting around, sitting around the fire, maybe parents having a drink or two or whatever type of meds they need to get through the day, and thrown on Slumberland. But it's just, I don't know. It's a movie that my kid, the morning after we watched it, she rewatched it. I'm already feeling a pull to watch it again with her. So it's one of those types of movies. Apparently, it's based on the Little Nemo stories.
Okay.
So, it's got some of that in there. Her name is Nemo. But Momoa, it's one of the most unique performances I've seen from him. He's really fun in it. He plays a very different type of character. Although it's also character I could see him channeling if he's had a few too many beers and you're just hanging out and your boys. But it's fun. Like I said, it's a good family movie. And if you're a daughter, no, how about if you're a father of a daughter who's an only child, there's no way it's not going to make you feel something. So there you go. Slumberland. Good one to check out this weekend if you got family, friends, little kids coming over. It's well worth sitting around and kind of making yourself feel some of those emotions when it comes to family. So yeah, that's really all I had. I mean, I'm still playing Modern Warfare 2. I have not checked out God of War yet.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played any new games. I'm still playing that Scarlet Nexus game kind of slowly. Definitely am not going to touch Modern Warfare or God of War for a while. Modern Warfare I probably won't play at all. And then God of War, I want to I have to finish the first one, and I want to finish, but like I just like
that's why you're slow on that. I'm just an asshole. So
yeah, like I just I don't know why. Like it's just one of those things where it's like I haven't been motivated to play it, you know.
Yeah,
but then again, like I haven't been motivated to play most games recently.
Yeah, I'm in one of those funks too. These days I kind of go in and out of wanting to game. And even when I'm really into it, I can't really game for more than an hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't know if I lose interest or if I've had enough of my brain rot out to that I need to do something else. It's like, all right, what's next? I'm bored. I sadly, and this is a true loss to my life to me, I don't think I'll ever be able to just have all day gaming sessions ever again, even when my parental responsibilities can be relinquished. I don't think it's ever going to be in me. You know, man, you know those days on like a Saturday or Sunday, I remember I'd game from fucking 12 until 12 or 12 until 3 a.m. Taking breaks to eat, maybe say hi to the wife, watch a show, then right back on the console. So it does bum me out, but I don't know. I just think that's the nature of my projection at this point in time. By becoming someone in the gaming media, I more or less killed my love and passion for the medium. But even being out of it, I'm in a different spot in my life. I'm a dad. I want to be around my family while my kid still likes me and wants to do stuff. You know, this weekend, instead of sitting around playing Modern Warfare all Saturday, we went bowling and then had a nice lunch before the Buckeye game. It almost gave me a heart attack. But that's the type of stuff I want to do now. You know, I want to be a present father. Sue me.
For me, I think one of the big things is like a lot of these big publishers and stuff like that are just leaning on already established franchises that they're kind of running into the ground. You know, obviously, you know, you can still do it well, like God of War. You know, the God of War 2018 reboot, I think, was either up for Game of the Year or won Game of the Year. And then God of War Ragnarok, from what everybody's saying, is probably going to be up for or win Game of the Year as well. So it's still like, you know, there's still some freshness and some good times to be had there. But like, I've been playing God of War for fucking almost 20 years at this point. It's like, I kind of want new stuff, and I think that's why I was sucked into this Scarlet Nexus game, because it was not an established IP, at least that I was familiar with. It might have spun off of something like a JRPG in the past, but it was relatively new IP. I wasn't familiar with it. It had fun gameplay mechanics that I still enjoy playing over 20 hours in, and like, but if you look at all of these other consoles and stuff like that, it's like, what's the new shit that they're showing? Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, it looks cool. It looks interesting. I didn't like Final Fantasy 15. I might get into that one. God of War. Like I said, been playing God of War for 20 years. Modern Warfare. Who gives a fuck about Modern Warfare? You've been making Call of Duty games for God knows how long. Battlefield. Like all these like they're leaning so heavily on all of these franchises that are just like so fucking played out that I don't get excited to see a trailer for a game franchise that's been around for more than 2 decades. It just doesn't do it for me anymore.
I think we need another new shirt from Adrian. What was the one last week? That was going to be a good one too, but the one this week should just be for Nick. Fuck franchises like that.
It's just, it gets boring, man.
You're not wrong. I think I've just kind of glossed over the entire gaming industry. It's just that when it made its shift to streamers and influencers and all that stuff, I was like, I kind of like traditional gaming media. I like the websites. Hell, I like the fucking magazines. I never understood how people, and I guess I shouldn't say it because we're live streaming, but I've never understood how people could just sit there for hours and watch a gamer play a game with the gamer's picture superimposed on the video game screen. I just, game streaming never quite made sense to me, but it's huge. I mean, people make millions of dollars a month streaming games because people sit there and watch people play games. It's wild. Oh well, wow. It's fucking first world white people problem time. But yeah, it sucks. I'm with you. I would like, it would be great to have that feeling again of I would go wait in line at midnight to play this game, and I've not felt that for years.
There's one game that I'm actually tracking, and it's called Forspoken. It's a Square Enix game coming out in January, and it's like an action RPG oriented game and new franchise. Like, obviously, Square Enix is a very well respected developer known for a lot of RPG titles. Does it have a
dummies difficulty setting for me, like Final Fantasy?
No
remake?
idea about that. I don't know that particular thing. But the world itself looks incredible. I mean, I know that every game looks incredible now because graphical fidelity has gotten so much easier for even indie developers to develop with. But like, motion looks cool. Main character looks cool. Like, combat looks cool, and all of the different trailers that I've seen and stuff. So like, that's the one game where I'm like, when Forspoken comes out, I will play it when it hits. So.
Now, will you stay up and play it as soon as it opens, or will you?
Oh God!
Will you sleep and wake up and then fire it up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. There's nothing in my life that I like sit up.
That's what I mean. Do you miss that at all, though, Nick, or we just become two angry old curmudgeons?
I don't miss it because, like, I think when I was a kid, it was just like, you knew you had limited time, and you also knew that, like, if you were, playing video, like, you just couldn't play games during certain times. Yeah. Like, you couldn't play games while you were at school. You couldn't, and like, as an adult, it's easier for you to make time to play it.
Yeah, especially with our work-life balance. I do get that. I guess I'm more talking with the lack of anticipation, like I don't anticipate much anymore. I guess you could argue I do for new Star Wars shows, because why else would I fucking wake up so early naturally? So there is some of that excitement. I can remember even for Tross, even knowing the whole fucking plot, the few days leading up to seeing it in theaters, I had that nervous energy, that it's like borderline dangerous anxiety, but you're excited, little kid Christmas Eve type of shit. And I don't really feel that anymore for much of anything. I mean, maybe if we get Star Wars movies, and yes, the Star Wars shows, I get a little bit, but video games, not at all. And that bums me out, because I used to live for E3s and trailer drops and midnight releases, and all that shit's gone. I think the only game that could potentially get me all worked up would be a open world Star Wars game that's not Cal Kestis. Okay, I'm gonna put that out there. Not Cal Kestis, not that stupid fucking Elden Ring sword swinging gameplay. But like that, like a Mandalorian open world adventure game where
that would be fun.
Where it's kind of, the world is like Ghost of Tsushima, and you have these three main islands that make up the three main acts, and each island has its own little story, but then each island has a bunch of shit to do, like important shit and time killing shit. I think that would be spectacular, but clearly, no one at LucasArts or Lucasfilm Publishing or anyone that has access to the video game license for Star Wars thinks that's the way. So I think, I'm just resigned to the fact that I'm never going to be excited for a game again, because that game is never going to exist.
Yeah, we'll have to see once this, once other developers get fully into their development process for, for new Star Wars games outside of EA, what they look like once they start to release trailers. There's some hope for the Ubisoft game, which is supposed to be open world. So definitely interested to see how that all plays out once those games are farther into development. We can start to see them. But yeah, I mean, right now, the Star Wars game landscape is kind of like,
it's weak.
Dead.
Yeah, we've got some news today. Hey, Charlie, you want to tell everyone, did you like Slumberland?
Oh, yeah, I think I might watch it like the third time.
Third time? All right, okay.
Look at that.
I was telling them that you and I really enjoyed it.
Salone, Mrs. Waddle's daughters, Mrs. Waddle was like, what the heck is Salone watching? And it was Slumberland.
All right. Well, good to have you back. See you later. So there you go, ringing endorsement from a 6.5-year-old, Slumberland.
There you go.
In 7 months.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know. She's. It's very hard as it probably was for our elders, to convince these little people that growing up sucks and that you should not be pining away to add years to your life. I get it. No one wants to listen to us people. She'll figure it out when she's my age, going, shit, I wish I embraced my childhood. But, you know, she's 6. She wants to be fucking 7. When she's 7, she's going to want to be 10. It's just how it goes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, yeah, no spoilers for Slumberland. That's not how we roll. Joey C, you know that. Yeah, Tones. I mean, Tones has been pitching this open world Mando Red Dead game, and then that's pretty much what I'm talking about. I'd like it more in the tone of Ghost of Tsushima, but yes, that's all we need. It really is. That's what we need. Tones has another new streamer movie recommendation that I also want to get in on, and that is Spirited on Apple TV Plus. I think it's a new Christmas movie with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. So that's going to get added to the list. According to my wife, we weren't allowed to start watching Christmas movies until this weekend coming up. So,
if you do have Apple TV Plus, do yourself a favor, watch Mythic Quest. If you haven't watched it yet, they're into season 3 right now, or is it season 2?
Dude, no, I can't remember if I watched season 2, and I go to my TV Plus and it doesn't have the completion bar up, so
yeah,
I guess that means I didn't watch it. But it's one of these shows where I feel like mushy brain may have failed me here.
It's so good. I mean, like, if you are a big fan of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it's made by that same crew. Rob McElhenney is one of the main characters. He plays Mac, obviously, in Always Sunny. You got Rickety Cricket from Always Sunny in there as a main character. And then a lot of the same writers from Always Sunny are also working on Mythic Quest. It's a fun show like a comedy show about the game development industry, following Rob McElhenney's character, who's the creator of this game series called, or this big MMO game called Mythic Quest. So,
and this is a show, Nick, that got a little fucked by the pandemic in terms of it built up a bunch of steam after season 1, but then there's like this long wait to get to season 2. They even did like a remote COVID-esque episode where all the stars pretended they were working on Mythic Quest using Zoom like we all did at the onset of the pandemic. So yeah, I think I just need to restart season 2 and move into 3, because you're not wrong. That is a good show. And what's his name? Apparently, was it McElhenney? Like his Welcome to Wrexham is apparently a banger with Ryan Reynolds too. So.
Oh yeah, it's very good. That's on Hulu. It's like a docu-series that follows
too much
their
shit
purchase.
To watch, Nick. Weren't we just talking about fucking my list and it growing too large? I mean, I want to check out that 1899 from the people that made Dark, even though I never saw Dark, but it looks good. It looks interesting, my type of shit. It's never ending, man. I mean, it's just, you really... And here's the sickening part of it. There's so much content, but I don't know if you're like me. Every night, I still find myself going to all my goddamn apps and reminding myself of how much content there is, but then not watching any of the content. You know what I mean? Like, do you do that, or is that a me thing where it's like, oh, what's on Prime Video? Oh yeah, that my list. Oh well, I should check Netflix just in case there might be something better. Oh well, nope. Well, let me check HBO. Oh nope. Well, let me go to Hulu. You know, it's a cycle of death.
We definitely do that dance a bit every night when we're like trying to decide what we want to watch and stuff. So yeah, that is a familiar parlance.
I hate it, and I feel like it's a mental problem. You know what I mean? Because why can't we just make a choice, man? Why can't we just hit play instead of thinking that there's always going to be another better option? You know what I mean?
I think that sometimes it's more about like, hey, what's a comfort show that we could put on in the background? We know we're not going to be paying a ton of attention here.
Yeah, let's watch something we don't want to watch.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the things for us recently is we started rewatching Arrested Development. Just because we're like, we like that fucking show. The show is funny.
I get that. You know, I get that, because I have a period of my night where I'm still fucking around with Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, but I want something on the TV. So it's kind of opposite of you, where when I'm fucking on my phone, I want to put up something that I've either have seen before or I don't necessarily care if I miss the nitty gritty. But there are times where I'm trying to, hey, phone, you go on the other side of the fucking couch so I don't touch you. And like a normal person in 20th century style, I just want to watch a program in one program, not look at phones, tablets, watches, so on and so forth. But even then, I still have a hard time making a choice. Like, okay, go. The most recent is this Ancient Apocalypse series on Netflix with some guy that's like trying to prove that there was a civilization, an advanced civilization prior to what historians, archaeologists, and geologists claim was the first civilization.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I
Actually,
said, wow for us.
Did recommend that to us too. One of Taylor's coworkers was like, hey, if y'all like, kind of like weird out there stuff.
But it's not
out.
even like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs conspiracy shit. Like the guy, this Graham dude, his theories make a ton of sense. And I understand academia and how it will dig its heels in and it will not consider any sort of alternate facts or real facts that could change what they have deemed to be true history. The guy makes a lot of good points, and I kind of buy into what he's saying. He's been on Rogan and all that stuff, but I don't think he's a kook. He's just someone that he's like, listen, we're allowed to question our own existence and where we came from and who were the first advanced humans. And look, there's a lot of signs that humanity was way more advanced at one point in time, and then due to cataclysm, apocalypse, the floods, the climate, that civilization was wiped out and we essentially had to restart from zero. But that's also why some of these earlier civilizations that we do mark as real civilizations were able to do crazy shit, because some of these survivors of the ancient civilizations were probably alive and showed them, this is how you move big stones easy. This is why you look at the sky. The sky can help you do this type of shit. So
yeah,
I did dig that. I'm not much into conspiracies and that type of shit, but it's not a conspiracy. The guy's just trying to like, listen, sometimes we got to take what the earth is giving us and not get so rooted in our academic expertise.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right.
Check it out too. There's a lot of stuff out there, as we've been saying.
It's too much, man. It's too much. It's too much. And tomorrow I'm going to go see Strange World, the new Disney movie that's got the far right all worked up because I don't know. There's like insinuated gay feelings or something. So there you go. I can't wait. Yeah, there you go. Joey C. Bring the giant humans back. That's right. They're all giants back then. It is good. It is good. Check it out. I mean, it's definitely something good too if you medicate and you like to think about that type of stuff. It's one of those types of shows because the guy has me convinced that there was an ancient advanced civilization. And by advanced, I'm not saying they had fucking space lasers and guns. They were just Atlantis was probably a real thing. That's what I'm trying to say. They were advanced for that time, way more advanced than people living in holes and caves. All right.
Makes sense.
Make America giants again. That was not me. That's Joey C. And by the way, Joey C it's actually my little cousin. He's a tough guy though. He's a real wrestler, MMA, jiu-jitsu motherfucker. So you got to watch out for him.
Shit. Oh,
he's someone that took our short muscular stature and used it the way you're supposed to, like grappling and kicking ass instead of trying to play football and sports where you should be tall and muscular. So good for him. Anytime people see me when I wasn't like a big fat ass, they're like, oh man, you must have been a good wrestler. I'm like, nope, sure as fuck wasn't. I did it in middle school and I hated it because it was too hard. All right, man. We tell them that there's always time for Star Wars time. So I guess 30 minutes in, it's time to start talking about some Star Wars.
I guess so.
And that Star Wars happens to be what I still consider and what will go down, at least to those that give it time and the respect it deserves, one of the greatest adult-centric, dramatic, gritty Star Wars live-action series of all time, and that is our friend Andor, Cassian Andor, a.k.a. Keith Gurgo. aka
Good
Casa.
old Keith.
All right, we had the penultimate episode last week, Nick, and Daughter of Ferrix. I saw a lot of dummies out there saying Daughters of Ferrix. Learn how to read, daughter.
Singular daughter.
Obviously referring to everyone's mom, Marva. All right, so we're going to talk about that like we usually do. We'll review it. We'll take a deep dive. We'll analyze some of the references and eggs. And then, like I said, I've got some thoughts. This is kind of a new segment to our breakdowns. Thoughts, where I've either read something that has sparked a thought, texted something with the intern that sparked a thought, or just while I was watching, you know what? This is something I want to discuss a bit more. All right, Nick, so let's go ahead and start. I'm sure it's fresh in your mind. You more than likely watched it this morning with your shot of whiskey. So what say you about episode 11, the kind of the penultimate, the setup for the big finale that's going to drop tomorrow?
It was good. It was a good episode, like you mentioned, definitely setting up the final. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have too many thoughts on this episode because I do kind of feel like this was just a bunch of setup for what's going to happen next. The Fondor ship was a cool scene to see, that a ship can shoot lasers out of its wings and destroy, other crafts in its area. I don't know why every ship is not equipped with that. Probably because Luthen's a really rich guy. After watching this episode, like I saw something like about a week ago or so, and it was like they should have named this show something different, and maybe it would attach itself to more of the fan base. And after seeing this episode, I definitely agree with that. Like, the name Andor for this show is actually just fucking awful. Like, if you think about everything that's in this show and how Andor is definitely a central figure, but like, he's almost the least important character in the show.
Well, in terms of being featured, I think you're right. But in terms of, if you notice, the narrative has always adhered to Cassian Andor, even from the Empire perspective, Luthen's perspective.
In a way, like I think that like Luthen has all but, like, in the last few episodes, he didn't really give a fuck about Cassian. He's like, I got other shit going on, way more important.
Now, when he was talking to Clea before the I forgot the name of it. The arrestor showed up.
Yeah.
And they talked about the Saul deal. That's something they had to take care of because obviously he's worried about Saul ratting them out because Saul knows who Luthen is. And he's like, well, what about our next piece? They were using code, essentially talking about antiquities, but I believe that he was talking about Andor, right? Like, he's like, well, all right, the Saul thing's taken care of, but this next piece, is there still interest in it? What's happened there? Do you think he was talking about Andor and their plans for him? Be it, or have they gotten closer to being able to assassinate him?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is like, Clea doesn't know that Andor's still out there. Clea is basically telling him
she just got
he may be on Ferrix because his mom just died.
Exactly.
Like
right. But that was who they were talking about, right?
Yeah, I would imagine so. But I think a better, like, going back to my original point, like, a better name for this show would have been like, Spark of the Rebellion or something like that. Like, something that is more focused on, like, the big picture than the small character. Because I feel like a lot of people who just like see the title want, like, what is going to attract you to that show about the title? I like, in that you have to take stuff like that into account, especially for TV shows in Star Wars where you have so much.
Yeah,
you have so much.
I don't know. That might
now.
not be a bad point, because I was even someone, when I first heard about this series, I was like, Cassian? Okay, whatever. But I'm different than a lot of you. I respect Rogue One. I think it's a great movie. I don't consider it to be one of the greatest Star Wars movies of all time. It lacked, as Nick said last week about this series, it lacked that the Star Wars-y shit that got me into it. The mystical side and all that stuff is as lame as that is. I'm a Skywalker saga boy through and through. So I do identify Star Wars with that mysticism more than what we're getting now. So you may not be wrong. I kind of like Spark of the Rebellion. I don't know. I feel like the figureheads and the powers that be were like, well, we gotta make it about someone that the fan base at large at least knows something about. We got to start from a known entity, and then we'll kind of build out from there. But I don't know. I mean, does the name really scare people away? I don't think so.
I think it
might
does,
not
dude.
bring people in. I don't know if it scares people away, but it might not entice. It might not entice.
Yeah. But that's what you got to do. You got to entice people to watch it, because like if you're like sitting down and you haven't watched a lot of the Star Wars shows, like you can't think about us. People like us don't matter to
No,
Disney,
you're right.
because we're going to watch whatever they put out. You could put a pile of shit as the picture.
They literally could
on
have
the-
called
on the-
it feces, and I would be getting up at
Yeah.
4:30 every Wednesday to watch it.
So like us thinking about like, what can you name it for us to like it? Doesn't matter. We're going to watch it anyway. You have to think about like the person who maybe hasn't seen Rogue One, but has seen the originals and the prequels. Like, what can I name it to make those people watch it? You put the name Andor up there, they're like, who the fuck is that? Is this even Star Wars? Like, no, thank you.
Eh.
You put a name like Spark of the Rebellion up there, where the rebellion is the whole fucking center point of the original trilogy. Then people are like, oh, wow, that seems Star Wars, Spark of the Rebellion. Wow, that seems interesting.
You know
Let
what,
me
dude?
check that.
You've just sold me on it. All right, I'm not going to agree with you that Andor isn't a key piece of season 1, but I will agree with you that the title was a misstep. Now that you've explained, I think you're right. I think Spark of Rebellion or Boom Goes the Empire, something like that,
Something
would
like
have
that.
would have enticed more clicks. Like not clickbait style title, but enough to where even a regular Joe would be like, hey, you know what? Fucking I know about rebellions. That's what Star Wars is all about. So let's go ahead and see what this has to offer. I got you. I got you.
Maybe Bob Iger will change the title. now
Hey,
that
he's
back.
coming in. All he's going to do is Star Wars. I mean, they're going to revise
That's
the
right.
schedule. We're going to have Star Wars in 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. It's great. Let's go. Yeah, right. Like I said, I mean, he's the guy that fucked everything up in the first place. Let's be real. In terms of positioning movies and not giving movies the time they need to breathe. So I think he's going to make your more Disney-centric fans happy, because apparently, Nick, Chapek was doing shit at the parks, like charging more and making it more of like an elite type of experience to where middle-income people couldn't quite afford Disney parks anymore. Who the fuck knows? We'll talk more on that later.
All they know is that Bob Chapek lost them a shitload of money.
About $1 billion. So and apparently,
so like, get the fuck-
even though they're still killing it in terms of subscribers, they make zero money on Disney Plus. That is just mind blowing to me. It's like, what the fuck are you people doing? Like
That's just,
how do you have people signing up, like tripping over themselves to sign up? And one point I read, Nick, was it's because a lot of people go for the bundles, and apparently if you buy a bundle, they're operating at a loss immediately on Disney Plus.
I got a bundle, so they're operating at a loss.
It's crazy,
on me.
dude. I bought the 3-year bundle when this was all starting to happen, and I think I got 3 years for like $60. It was a crazy deal. Guess what? That bundle's gone. They rolled me right into the fucking 1 year only term. It didn't even give me a chance to like try to get your Hulu, ESPN
they
Plus,
were paying
Disney
you
bundle
to watch their shit.
Exactly. But anyways, all right. So back to Andor. Spark of the Rebellion, an Andor story. I like that, Tones. Go for it. So I got you there, and back to Rogue One. I don't hate Rogue One. In fact, I've been dying to rewatch it, but I have a self-imposed ban until I get through season 1 of Andor, because I do think for someone like me, who, and here's my beef with Rogue One, and it's probably a lot of people's beef with Andor. I had no fucking stakes in any of these characters. I knew what was going to happen to them. They were nothing special to me. They weren't legacy. And what's the best scene in that movie? A Darth Vader scene. So I didn't really, as Nick was saying, made a great point about why Andor has floundered with the at-large user base on Disney Plus, is because there's no stakes for people. There's no connections to past Star Wars that they loved. I mean, outside of the ships, the Death Star, and all that shit, Rogue One is just a bunch of derelicts and freedom fighters that we all know are on a suicide mission. So that's why I never loved Rogue One. Now that I've seen Andor, I think Rogue One is going to hit in a completely different sense for me. There is going to be weight now to the character of Cassian. There's going to be more stakes for me. There's going to be more emotion to it now because Cassian is a firmly and deeply established character now, much more so than he was back in 2016. So there you go. Yeah, I want to know that too. Here's Sir Dork, but he has disappeared from Instagram, like one of the biggest personalities in the toy photography community, just gone. Like the account's gone, everything. So, Jared, if you're well and you can share your story, please let us know. We'd love to communicate it out there to the Star Wars Time Show community. All right, man. So I think what I'm getting from Nick, change the fucking name of the series. Episode 11 was good, but nothing special happened. It's setting up 12, so I'll go. I do feel like episode 11 was kind of back to episodes 8 and 9, where it's still great, quality writing, expert level acting, great scenes, memorable moments, all that stuff. Nothing bad about it at all. But it lacked the tension again. You know, it's just like, okay, I can see we're funneling everything, and hopefully you all realize it too. I mean, that whole episode was to move all the chess pieces to Ferrix, okay? Cyril's going there with the tip from his boy. You know Cassian won't be able to help himself. Dedra's on her way. You know the daughter of Ferrix, the daughters of Ferrix have something planned. So episode 11 completely served to funnel all the main players, all the narratives from season 1 back to Ferrix where it all started. Even Luthen, with his little ordeal, will be maybe not headed directly to Ferrix, but it's going to be on his mind because, you know, he just escaped with his life. He knows he's a marked man. He's been a marked man, but now you're starting to see how that heat is just turning up by like a factor of 10 every episode. Like Tony told us, it's like now that ever since Aldhani started, Luthen is fucked. Like basically his countdown to death has happened. And it's going to get harder and harder for him to do what he's been doing. And we got the first taste of that this week when he was leaving Segra Milo. But even there, Clea, before she got cut off, was essentially telling him, like, yes, good chance he's going to show up on Ferrix because the old mom is dead. So it was a setup episode, and don't you dare say it was a filler episode. It was setup though. But it was still great. I think it had some fantastic moments. It had some touching moments that we'll talk about in our top 5 moment breakdown. Some good action. And like I said, it spawned a few thoughts that I'd like to dig into with Nick. So it still did its job. In the grand scheme of themes, it was excellent live action Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I mean, the show itself has always been a super solid, like just written and acted show. I don't think that there's been one episode where there's been like a dip in the performance level of either like the writing team or the actors on set. So always super consistent in that fashion. And I agree with you that this episode has continued that. The Cyril thing, still waiting to see how that plays out. Because now, like,
did he steal his mommy's money? That was his mommy's money, right? Did he break into his mom's safe? Attaboy.
Yeah, he has no money. That guy.
You gotta love it. I mean, how old do you think Cyril is? Is he in his 20s or 30s in Star Wars? Not like Kyle Solar, but in Star Wars.
Yeah. I think that he's probably in his late 20s.
Okay,
I'll say that because like late 20s is a period of time where like your parents expect you to be like, okay, like you should be good on your own now. Like early 20s, mid 20s, like you're still figuring your shit out. Once you get like 27, 28, 29, your parents are like, you should have your shit together and you should not be living in my house anymore. I think that's why his mom is a little kind of...
He like waited until she left. He's like sneaking around. He goes in, breaks into the safe, takes her credits. And you know where he's headed. And he's so far, he's going right down the path I predicted. He's going to get there on his own. He had nothing to do with the ISB. And just as it seems like he's going to get his man, he's going to fuck it up for everybody. everybody, and that's himself, the Empire, the people on Ferrix, Cassian. Like, he's just going to be one big calamitous disaster on Ferrix. You know it.
Oh, yeah.
You know it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But
it's just like he is. I remember I said this in like the first couple episodes after Cyril had been introduced. He was the rogue agent that screws up everything for everybody. Like, because Tony always writes one of those. He always has a rogue agent in his shows that are like this, that are about like spycraft and stuff, that just like comes in, throws a wrench in the whole thing, and then either gets killed and then just immediately forgotten, but and was only there to fuck shit up, or they like, you know, they come in and then they end up actually helping the person that they're trying to go against.
Okay, that's
the two options.
That's what's happening for sure. I do think indirectly Ciro's going to help Cassian and the rebels. I really do. I think he's going to fuck up so bad that he is going to indirectly help the people he's trying to take out. Cassian being the number one. Cassian stole his gun. He gave his gun to Melshi. I mean, that's like taking a man's balls away from him. You gotta, he has got an axe to grind with Cassian, and he's gonna get very close. But it's all gonna explode, and it's going to screw everything up for everybody, and probably help the good guys in the end. I just know it. I have that feeling. All right, so before we get into the top 5, just one other comment on the episode and see what Nick says. Nick, I think this was, in particular, the closing scene, this was probably Diego's best, like, subtle performance episode. Just the way he used his face, his expressions, teary-eyed, you know, that you could, in that last scene, you could really feel him kind of man-choking tears down around Melshi, like, yeah, buddy, we got it. You know it. Let's go spread the good word. But all he's thinking about is, fuck, my mom's dead. And I wasn't with her because I ran away and I was locked up and she's never going to see who I've become. Because he was even like, hey, tell my mom tell her to be proud of me. I mean, that kind of killed me. I was like, fuck. But I think Diego, this is probably his best subtle acting in the series.
Definitely. Especially like, you know, when he's talking to Melshi and be like, yeah, everything's good. Like just holding everything in, not even telling who is his closest friend, you know, what has happened or, you know, what's happened with his mom. And he's just kind of dealing with it. It was a very good piece of acting to close out this episode.
We'll talk more on that scene later because that is one of my top scenes. But let's go ahead and get into those right now, Nick. As we always do, we like to review and then we like to point out some of the top moments to see if you, the fans, agree. And the first one on my list is it's the opening scene between B2 and Brasso as the Daughters of Ferrix are preparing Marva for her burial. And it just, I'm telling you, man, that this droid and if we actually had a staff, I would tell them to fucking find the tape and roll it. But I'll go on record saying I was 100% wrong about B2 emo. Over the summer where I first saw him, I was like, look at this stupid ass looking fire hydrant trash can. Who does he think he is and come in here and try to win our hearts and become another iconic Star Wars droid? I was a big dickhead to B2. I didn't even like his name. I was making fun of his name. And I have to say, through season 1 and in particular this scene he had with Brasso, I find B2 to be one of the most emotionally deep Star Wars droids of all time. I mean, he's like a real fucking person crammed in a robot body. The level of emotions this little droid goes through, knowing that his owner is dead, or hell, it's his Marva. It's not even his owner.
It's basically his mom.
Yeah, like, and he's just like he wouldn't wake up. He wouldn't talk to anyone. He's acting like a little kid if a parent died or something emotional happened. They didn't know how to deal with it. And he's like, Brasso, will you please stay with me, or one more night, or it was touching. And I'm talking about a fucking bucket of bolts. So that to me is impressive. When a droid that some intelligent engineer built and threw on a Star Wars set can make me feel something, That's big. And you know, credit to Tony, credit to the people that bring B2 to life, but also to the guy that plays Brasso and the other human actors that interacted with B2 in that moment. Because B2 he felt like a part of the family. He didn't feel like a C-3PO, an annoyance, or an R2, kind of a, you know, a little bit of a wise ass, but a hero, or more so on the wise ass side, a Chopper or a BB-8. You know, that they all still kind of feel like droids. B2 feels like a human character, an organic.
Yeah, no, he definitely does. Like, he definitely feels like almost like a little brother to Cassian. And that was the first thing that, like, I think in the first episode, they had an interaction where, like, oh, he treats this droid like a little brother. Yeah,
exactly.
And I think that's probably the best way to describe their relationship.
You're 100% right, because remember, Cassian's like, hey, man, just lie for a little bit. And he's like, I don't have enough power to do it. It was like a big brother to a little brother. Like, hey, just tell mom a little bit of a story while I'm finishing doing something I shouldn't be doing. You're exactly right. It's not... It was never, droid, do this, droid, do that, droid, you're a servant for me. It was more of a coming from a friendship, or as you're saying, a family bond, a brotherly bond. And that's why my first thought, Nick, after this scene, and just kind of falling in love with B2 throughout the season, and seeing the different type of droid he is, the much more emotional droid, the much more connected droid to his family. I can't even say owners. His family. B2 has to become K2. It just seems like a layup. Like, there has to be some post-credit scene, or hell, just a direct in-our-face scene where B2's essence, AI, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is transferred into K2 in Season 2 when Cassian secures that security droid and reprograms him. It just... They have too many similarities. Just look at how K2 and Cassian would interact and talk to each other. Look how B2 interacts and talks with humans. I know K2 is a little sassier, but that's, you know, maybe now that he's in a big body, he feels a little bit better and doesn't have to sit in his fucking charging port all day. I don't know. That's
what I was going to say. Like, maybe that has given, like, there has to be some sort of maturity upgrade at some point, I would imagine. But that's the only, like, that's the really the only difference. But, you know, like, B2 was very much like a child, and then K2 is more like a teenager. So I'm very interested to see, once we get there, like, how this process happens. Like, does he, like, okay, I want to basically take B2's consciousness, for lack of a better term, and put it into this hollowed out droid, but can you, like, give him some enhancements? And when they give him some enhancements, he, like, ages or something, like he ages
here's, up. In the live stream chat, Black Series clips, I don't know if he's fully joking or what, but he's like, I love how B2 is always charging. What if, you know, again, what if B2 gets damaged or something happens where he's going to die and Cassian has to transfer? It just makes too much sense. And I know
that would be a lot like what happened in Solo with
exactly. So
L3.
There's precedence to this in Star Wars. Nick is 100% correct. In Solo, when Leet takes it and is dying, they essentially, it's not even a resurrection. They immortalize her by putting her into the Falcon's computer system. She becomes the brains of the Falcon. And it's the same thing, but it's going to be more of a direct conscious transfer from bot to bot, where, you know, B2 isn't becoming just a program to run a ship. He is becoming the essence, the AI of that KX security droid Hall.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see how season 1 closes out, because there are a lot of storylines that, like, even like huge fans of Rogue One are still kind of waiting to develop. You know, the K2 storyline, the story, like, just just Cassian being a member of the
Right, yeah,
rebellion. We haven't even gotten there
No,
yet.
I mean, we're at the precipice of him, I think, getting there, but I don't even think that'll be resolved at the end of season 1. I think at best, Luthen realizes that he is the asset he once thought, and he is worth keeping alive. But you're right. I mean, Cassian has nothing to do with any of the rebel cells at this point in time. I think he's finally learned, and that was confirmed.
There is value in
exactly,
being a rebel.
And that was confirmed with him and Melshi and them kind of making their pledge that, like, you know what,
people have
we do need to do this. People do have to get out and fight back, and I'm going to be one of those people. So yeah, I mean, it could even be whatever happens in episode 12. I mean, this is one of my thoughts. We might as well talk about it, but I'm pretty sure, and I don't want to say this is anything special, so hold your trophies and medals, but there was way too much foreshadowing for Marva's funeral to not be some sort of surprise for the Empire. I mean, the fact that they even go into the exposition that on Ferrix, their bodies are turned into bricks. I mean, to me, that's setting up that they're going to turn her body and those bricks into some sort of fucking explosive or something crazy that's going to happen for this funeral that the Empire wants to happen to try to catch Cassian. But I think Marva's been planning this for months, ever since Cassian left. I mean, she was purposely not taking her medicine. She was scouting the hotel that they were going to. Marva dying was more or less on purpose for this funeral, for her and the daughters to kick off some sort of rebellion on that planet. Mark my words.
No, yeah, I think you're 100% right about that. Like, she knew that she didn't have a lot of time left anyway. Like, she's just a sickly person.
Yeah.
So, like, she knew, like, hey, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out and I'm going to make it mean something for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they've, like I said, they've been sprinkling this over the past few episodes. If you've been listening, I mean, they specifically brought up the fact that she no longer eats. They specifically brought up that she got hurt fucking around by the hotel, and they specifically talk about how people on Ferrix bury themselves. Like, there's no other reason to go into that if it's not going to be called upon in a future episode. So I have a feeling wherever these bricks are at, they're going to be fucking blowing up, or they're going to be part of Marva's, as I call it, her funeral surprise. So that's definitely happening. But, you know, B2 could be in on that too. And maybe that's where he loses his shell, but hopefully Brasso or someone.
You think that he's like a suicide bomb?
Potentially. Yeah, potentially.
Could be.
He's been fighting for freedom longer than Cassian. I mean, he's been with the Andors forever. So, but yeah, hopefully Brasso grabbed his memory, and that'll be like a big hit in season 2.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, clearly a great moment, and B2 is up there as an all-star droid for different purposes than the duo. I mean, I always am gonna love the duo, but that's more for their interaction with each other and how mean C-3PO is to R2 and how R2 is essentially the hero of the original trilogy. BB-8 was also a great droid, but like a lot of things sequel trilogy, he kind of lost his luster after the first movie and was kind of relegated to sidekick status. K2 clearly has his moment, and as they're saying in the chat here, if my theory pans out, that's going to make K2's death hit even harder, because then it is a fucking family member dying, and it's not just a droid that they got close with each other over 2 or 3 years. I mean, this is going to be Cassian losing, as Nick said, a brother that he's known since he's probably 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be very difficult for him to deal with that. Like, and it gives it even more weight, considering that, like, it would be different if it was like B2's first death, like, you know, but then you take the extra step to say, like, hey, I'm going to take his core, his brain, his consciousness, whatever, and I'm going to put it in another droid to make sure that, like, even though my family has been destroyed, there's still a piece of my family, essentially my brother.
Yeah.
Because
think about it,
and then you lose him again.
He has nothing again. Cassian is right back to having nothing. His adoptive parents are gone. He's never found the sister, and God knows, it honestly looks like that that was just a straight MacGuffin at this point in time. I mean, all that looks like it was just steady MacGuffin, because I don't even know how they deal with it in season 2 at this point. Because
that's what I was gonna say. It's like this storyline is hanging out there, and I'm like, what? Like, is this anything? Like, what is happening here?
I don't know, man. I mean,
and I don't know if they're gonna just drop it all together and be like, well, we're just, it was an idea and we just let it go. Like, the only thing that I could think of now is like, is his sister somebody he already knows?
Dude, that's why, I mean, weeks ago I was saying, could it be Dedra? Like one of those types of deals where, nature versus nurture. She was picked up by the Empire, or someone that was in the Empire, and that's why she became a fascist, where he was picked up by, freedom fighters, and he ultimately goes this way. Yeah, I don't know. Trevor doesn't like the B2 and K2. That's all right. It just it makes too much sense. Like it's a layup, and maybe that's why he doesn't like it. I don't know. Maybe that's too easy. And Tony,
maybe that's why Tony won't do
exactly.
it either, Tony doesn't like layups. Like he doesn't like a name that would be really good for this show. He just can't use the word Andor.
Well, I don't know. I still think B2 and K2 have too many similarities, and like we said, I don't know when he jumped in, but there could be a case where, once B2 gets out of his crummy shell, he feels a little bit better. His personality could change a little bit. You never know. You know how you feel when you get a new haircut or you lose some weight. It can make you a whole different person. So there you go, Trevor. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. But we will be talking about one of your theories coming up in our next thoughts. Because I don't know, I still don't completely buy into it, but I think there are some tangential connections. Now Sir Dork is shitting on it too. That's all right. We'll see. I mean,
he doesn't like the. He doesn't like the.
Let's just all remember here. I mean,
K2?
if I have to break out my trophy room of correct Star Wars speculations, I will. But I believe my track record's pretty fucking good when it comes to speculations. But knowing Tony Gilroy, you always got to keep that in the back of your mind. It could be too cynical, or it could be too legacy to connect them together.
Or it may be in a comic book, and you know how much he hates those comic books.
All right, moving on to the next top moment. And I believe, Nick, this was Genevieve O'Reilly's probably one of her best performances. And the moment I'm talking about is when Mon and Vel are kind of talking about Mon's troubles. We really kind of get the scope of how much deep shit she is in. And I think that that's why I like this conversation, Nick, because it did kind of highlight more of Mon's trouble, and that, her going to Luthen early on, she was already in trouble, and she knew this was coming and it was going to eventually bite her in the ass. And ultimately, it does seem like Mon is going to make the deal to at least allow Lita to meet with Davos' son. But I guess the interesting thing is, at least the way I interpret it, Nick, it feels like Lita may be down with this because she seems to be into the old ways of Chandrila, which turned her mother and her Aunt Vel off extremely.
Yeah, I think that what may end up happening here is Vel is, obviously Vel is going to do something to stop all this from happening, because that's she's not going to allow her cousin to essentially sell her daughter.
But it's for the rebellion, Vel. You told Mon, right? You got to sacrifice. You got to fight the good fight.
You got to fight it. But I think that one, she sees the desperation in Mon. Mon knows that if it gets down to this such an exciting thing as a credit review, and they see that this money is missing, that obviously that Mon is dead. She's not going to be in prison. They're going to kill her. And there's no way that she's going to let her cousin give up her only child to the hands of some fucking slimy Chandrilan, underworld guy.
Lita's gonna love it. Well, I guess Lita would love it if Vel suggested it, or her dad. But if her mom brings it up, even though that's probably what she wants, she's gonna be like,
she'll love it as much as Sansa Stark loved it when she got married off to whoever. So you didn't, because
I took it as like her doing those religious chants, and then the conversation between Mon and Vel was like, Vel's like, why the fuck is she doing this old ways, goofy shit, young marriage type of stuff? And Mon was like, she loves it, and Perrin's not even forcing her. Like Lita wants to do this. Tone's post-credit scene on Andor, I already dropped that in the Discord, brother. You must have missed that. It's not breaking.
Oh, is there going to be one?
There is definitely. I'm going to save that for our setup of the finale. But yeah, for now, there is a post-credit scene, and it confirms my speculation on what they're making in the prison. So that's another trophy for the shelf. Bada bing, bada boom. Put the checks in the mail. But yeah, we'll touch on that, Tones. Thanks for the reminder. Anyways, back here. So it kind of seemed like Lita digs the old ways of Chandrilla, which would be the arranged marriages at 14 or 15. But again, I don't know if you caught Lita's look. When she was hugging Vel, she made sure to stare at her mom with that bitchy look, like, I fucking hate you look. So that was still captured in this scene. Any scene with Lita and her mom, Lita has to get one of those death stares off.
I will say that like that's usually how it goes though. Like kids are gonna be anti-mom or anti-dad until they realize from experience that, hey, mom and dad were right.
But did you?
Because what does this kid know? This kid's just like, I want to marry some rich boy.
Right. I want to sit here and do like Handmaid's Tale chants, like ba 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 ba. The past is the best. Like it was really weird shit. It was like one of us, one of us, one of us. But I just one last thing on this scene. I really feel like Mon has come to the decision of she is going to at least allow this meeting to take place. And I know that's true because they released a Mon Mothma featurette today, and there's a very brief snippet of what looks like Davos with his family and Mon walking up with Lita. So she does appear to at least agree to his terms, which were not a betrothal, but at least a meeting. So she's going down that path to save her ass.
Yeah. I mean, she's got to. There's no other. She really doesn't have another choice. Like she has to do this at least for the time being.
Yeah, she needs the money. She's like, I'm fucked. She's like, I am fucked. Like, if they get around and they get to that coffer and see the missing $400K, it's lights out.
Yeah, that's what Vel realizes that Mon's dead if they catch it. What's interesting to me is that Vel mentions Tacoma in a way that almost makes him seem like he was like a known shithead too.
But even you're right, because even Mon was kind of like, yeah, but I still kind of trust him. So it does seem like Vel's like, man, you even went to Tay, like that was your first person to go to.
Yeah. Like and I don't know. So like it's interesting. I'd be interested to see if they actually go into more of the history between Tay and Mon, because all of the interactions between Tay and Mon have been very amicable, if not like slightly romantic.
No, you're right, and I believe Lita does mention that they were a thing before they were before Mon was betrothed to Perrin. Like they're like a like schoolyard, elementary school relationship type of stuff, young love.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see if maybe like Vel had an interaction with Tay that Mon's not familiar with, and that's why she's like, hey, he's a shithead, he's always been a shithead, you shouldn't have messed with him in the first place.
Yeah. But like Mon said, she's
never
like,
the vibe we got from Mon.
Mon's like, what do you fucking want me to do? I went to Luthen, he said, suck it up, buttercup. So she started making her own moves, and making her own moves got her in trouble. She even admits here, she's like, Luthen was right. I shouldn't have fucking brought other people into this mess. And he usually is. He's the man, and it's going to be a sad day when Luthen Rael dies, but I think that's coming season 2. All right, so yeah, good scene here, and like I said, I mean, this shot I have on the live stream, Genevieve fucking nailed it. I mean, just the emotion. You could feel the weight of the galaxy on this woman's shoulders in this scene. and that is a sign of a classy performance. Okay. It's Andor, so top moments are usually dialogue heavy, and I do have to mention the second scene between Saul and Luthen. I really enjoyed this one, Nick, because it was a dance they were doing, right? Even more so than the dance they did the first time, where, you can tell these two don't fully trust each other just because of the way Luthen handles his business and Saul handles his business. But I just love the dance they made and how it started with Saul's like, yeah, I'm in now. I want to do this mission. And Luthen is kind of telegraphing like, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. And then he finally is like, dude, you can't go on this mission because I'm giving them Anton Krieger. I'm going to sacrifice 30 men to keep my asset in the ISB safe. It's like, it's the first time to me, it felt like, Nick, between these two that Luthen was almost 100% honest with Saul. I mean, he wasn't fully forthright, but he was pretty damn honest with Saul and let him know, like, listen, I'm not the ISB agent, obviously, or why wouldn't I send you in there to die with fucking Anton? But I do have an ISB asset. We need to protect it, and that is going to cost some of our rebel fighters. And at first, Saul's like, whatever. But because Saul, that's when he comes around. He's like, yeah, you know what? That's a good fucking deal. 30 men for an ISB agent. Let's call it war, baby. So, I mean, these two right there in this meeting, I think they officially are kicking off the additional rebel activity and the rebel mantra. Like, listen, whatever it takes, this is war. And Saul clearly runs with that too far. And that's why he becomes disenfranchised from the Rebel Alliance and is not allowed to join. And they kind of want nothing to do with him. But this is it. This was kind of the green light to Saul to like, all right, let's fucking get crazy, people.
Yeah, I think that, like, one other thing too is, like, I think that Luthen sees value in Saul, unlike he did with Krieger. I mean, Krieger was kind of made already, so there was very little that, like, you couldn't save him. You couldn't save him without outing yourself. But I also think that, like, Luthen sees value in Saul because Saul has no morality that governs his choices or his decisions when it comes to this rebellion. And he knows that, like, when the shit hits the fan and it really fucking comes down to it, you need somebody like Saul to do the dirtiest of the dirty work. And he's gonna,
Nick,
and not everybody is willing to do that.
That's a great point. Would you argue if Luthen survives whatever's going to take him out and makes it to the Battle of Yavin, or even the massing of forces on Yavin like we saw in Star Wars Rebels, do you see Luthen still kind of supporting Saul, even though Mon and everyone else thinks he's a monster? Like, do you see Luthen still secretly like, yeah, man, this is, again, accelerationism, right? Like, we need bad shit to happen to good people to kind of get this party started. So would Luthen have kind of kept Saul in the mix if he was around?
Definitely. And I think what may have ended up happening is if Luthen survived, the rebellion would have been way more messy.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Because like, ultimately what it came down to, and, like, obviously we'll never see the full scope and like all the gritty details of the true rebellion that happened during the time of the original trilogy. But, like, from what we saw, it's like plucky band of rebels fighting against the big empire. They're doing everything they can to, like, ride the line between, like, brutality and then also just, like, being as safe as they can with the people of the galaxy. Whereas Luthen would be like, look, man, if we got to crack if eggs get broken and they happen to be innocent people, like, that's just the price that we pay for a rebellion. And I don't think that, like, I think that the mindset that he has now would only degrade further once the open war started.
Yeah, I mean, he, Bail Organa, and Mon Mothma would definitely not be seeing eye to eye around that table in Rogue One.
Definitely not. So, and that's kind of, and I do feel like if that was the case, and Mon did kind of naturally rise to the top as another leader while Luthen was still alive, likely what you would have seen is a splintering that
they
happens
probably would have
with
failed.
Yeah, like Luthen and all of the more extreme rebels, like Saw and some of the others, would have kind of split off from Mon and the proper, Rebel Alliance that forms during the original trilogy time towards the end of Rogue One. Because Luthen is like, I don't fucking care. If I put people out there and they fucking die, but they get the mission done, the mission is what's important, not the people.
Yeah. I mean, this scene right here proved he's like, all right, fuck Anton Krieger, screw him. It's worth it. Yeah. It's worth it. 30 of them. I thought it was 50. He said 50 last week, but it's down to 30 this week. So who knows? Yeah. maybe 20. Maybe they lost 20 defected or something. But Nick, did you also notice this scene provided deeper insights into Luthen and how he operates? But he mentioned to Saul, he's like, listen, Anton doesn't know who I am. He's never seen me. And Saul's like, wait, you've never, he's like, I've been in the same room with him, but he's never met Luthen. And so, I mean, he just shows you how secretive and how cautious Luthen is. But that also speaks volumes about why he exposed himself to Saul. Like, it seems like Saul's one of the only rebel leaders besides Vel and Cassian, who's not a leader yet, but will become one, that Luthen has actually exposed his true identity to. So while he went here to, talk to Saul about this mission, his ultimate goal was to ensure that Saul Guerrero was not going to rat him out. I don't know if you picked up on that when he was talking to Clay. He's like, yeah, it cost me more than I wanted, but we don't have to worry about this guy essentially turning me over. He's good. Like, Saul's committed. He's going to go fuck shit up. He's an accelerationist. Now let's go check in on the other piece, who is Cassian, his last loose end that he feels he needs to tie up. So that's another reason this scene was great. And it just is. Saul, you can't get any bullshit over on Saul. I mean, he can deduce everything just based on the cryptic words that Luthen was giving him. And it was a, like I said, it was a dynamic scene. It started one way and it ended a completely different way. At one point in time, you thought everyone was going to have like a shootout at the OK Corral. It was just a really great paced scene, and Stellan and Forrest together really do make some beautiful Star Wars moments. Those ones that Stellan kept talking about when they were spoilers way back when. Remember, he was like, oh yeah, love working with Forrest Whitaker. Oh, so Saul's going to be in Andor. That was never official, but okay, it makes sense. You just get a lot of good insights into Luthen and just the Rebel Alliance and people like Saul, those outliers that didn't quite make the Masasi Temple. Yeah. Okay, so the big one here, clearly the best moment of the episode and probably the best action bit of the series, is the space battle between Luthen's Fondor Hallcraft and the Cantwell class arrestor cruiser. That's right. Named after the now dead Colin Cantwell, a big Star Wars starship designer from back in the prequel days. But Nick, just like everyone kind of laid down for the question of the week, but this was just one hell of a space battle. It was one of the best Star Wars space battles that I can remember in recent memory. You really got to see how badass Luthen's craft is. I was telling the intern, I think Luthen's Hallcraft at this point is top 3 Star Wars spaceships for me personally, just in terms of its personality and its capabilities. But it was just, I don't know. It was, to me, this was the most Star Wars shit we've gotten in Andor, I think, all season. It was a good old space battle with our man Luthen and his badass toy. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And like, it was really cool to see like all the different gadgets on that thing. I mean, like, you had hidden missile bay. You had, it's like a fucking flechette gun, man. That's what I called it. It was like he had like a rear mounted flechette missile gun. Yeah, crazy shit there. The wing things, I mean, obviously, like the Fondor attachment in the ship to be able to like come up with a fake transponder code. And then I think it's obvious too that like this ship is probably retrofitted with like better engines and like repulsor lift technology to be able to like push against the tractor beam like it was doing. And they were like, oh, well, like
I guess, up the fucking tractor beaminess of it and pull it in faster. But yeah, I mean, it's funny too, because like stuff like I wish that we would have seen this ship or a ship like this and other things, because it is such a
it's
cool,
a bad dude. It's up
like,
there with the Falcon.
such a cool ship.
Like the Falcon, the Falcon is the most iconic Star Wars ship to me. I mean, just the way it looks, all the stories about it, Han Solo, all that fun shit, parsecs.
Yeah.
But this little fucking Hallcraft, man, has really jumped up my list as almost as a character type of ship. You know, you got Red 5. You got the Falcon. I mean, outside of that, unless it's a cruiser like a Home One or the Executor, ships are ships. You know what I mean? They don't really stand out. They don't feel like they have a personality. This Hallcraft does, and as I said, it's in my top 2. And I'd argue you could rotate the Falcon and the Hallcraft on any given Sunday. They're just such a badass craft. And we got to see it kind of pull out all its tricks in this space battle. And no, those are not lightsabers coming out of the wings. Lightsabers kind of have a limited beam. These were more like what you would have saw in the Clone Wars on the lats, you know, when those big ball guns would come out and the clones would be like, zzz, and just fucking like lance large swaths of a battlefield. Ghost from Rebels, yeah, I'll give you that. Black Series clips. The Ghost is a standout for sure, no doubt.
Ghost is pretty cool. It doesn't have quite like that stuff was just really cool to see. Like it was just really insane to see. How to put this? Like it was really insane to see a small ship like that outfitted with so many cool gadgets, and we really like the Ghost had like cloaking capabilities and stuff like that, but I don't think it had stuff quite as cool as this
and that's why I guess in terms of just capabilities, I think the Hallcraft is one of the most badass things we've seen. In terms of ships that kind of have a personality, the Ghost is definitely up there because of its crew. Razor Crest, all right, there we go. That's why we do this thing. I can't think of everything. Razor Crest is up there. But the Razor Crest was like a flying minibus. It didn't really have that. It wasn't. Its capabilities weren't kind of out of this world. But I think it did have a personality as well. Always breaking down, kind of shitty, old Clone Wars era classic. But this Hallcraft thing is a thing of beauty. You know, if they said, "Hey Matt, you get to pick one Star Wars ship," I would have a hard time going, choosing between this and the Millennium Falcon or Red 5. I think.
Yeah. I mean, this one's definitely got more cool bells and whistles, and it's not going to break
Slave
down on
One
you when
tones.
you're in the
They're all coming
fight.
alive now. Slave One's up there too. I've always thought Slave One looks stupid. It's built it doesn't make sense. But now that we've seen more of it, and of course the way it sounds and its weaponry, yes, the Slave One most definitely has personality and cool capabilities, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I think that just goes to
Fresh
show you
paint job,
how
too.
fucking cool this thing is, because I'm a lifelong fan, and this Hallcraft, like I said, has climbed my list immediately. All right, Nick, I think this is the point where I want to get into another thought section. As we're talking about Luthen, and really we spent a lot of time talking about the ship, and we didn't spend much time talking about the pilot. And I honestly, watching Luthen and the way he handled that whole situation, very calm, very cool, very collected, never panicked like you'd see Han Solo and Chewbacca panicking if they're about to be boarded. No bullshit. It was like, hey, just another fucking walk in the park for him. But then even with all the cool shit, Nick, you have to admit that he has got some damn fine and damn skilled twitchy piloting skills. Like that was not the AI flying. That was him. That was him setting in the coordinates and shooting the guns and doing the twists with the lasers and avoiding the ties to set him up for that double laser barrel roll. That is him. And most pilots that fly like that typically have some sort of connection to the Force. Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, Kylo Ren, a.k.a. Ben Solo. Yes, we know Han Solo is one hell of a pilot, but is he that twitchy? Is he that skilled in a small craft? I don't know. I guess it's up for debate. So what I want to get back to on this thought stub, back to something the 1/6 shooter brought up a few episodes ago. I think back on episode 4 when we learned that Luthen had a kyber crystal. So I still don't think Luthen is a Jedi. There's too many counters to what he's done with his life for him to be a Jedi. But I do feel like he has some connection to the Force, either through family lines or something, that allow him to fly that way. I'm sure you notice on Segar Milo, they really made a focus to look at his walking stick handle again. Like, oh, what's this? You guys remember this walking stick? Hey, it kind of looks like a lightsaber hilt. It could be a lightsaber in there. He's also very good at talking to people, motivating people, convincing them to do things that they probably wouldn't do. So, I guess let's just start with this. Jedi or not? Luthen.
I don't think so. If anything, I would tag him as more of like a Corran Horn type character, where like maybe he has like, he has a little bit of Force juice in him. And like even in the Corran Horn story, like he finds a lightsaber and he has a lightsaber and uses it, and he's not a Jedi and stuff like that. But like he has the Force that kind of flows through him in a similar way.
I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me. So like kind of like a Chirrut or a Baze, where they subscribe to it, but they're not Jedi.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like the real hard one to kind of brush off is definitely like you said, the walking stick handle that Two Tubes kind of takes out, not Two Tubes, but the other guy takes out of his jacket when he's going up to meet Saw. It's like, okay, you can see that there are like handhold grips on it as well. Like it's very well made. It has what looks like an emitter point for like a lightsaber blade to come out of it. That being said, it could be like a sword or some kind of like extendable vibro blade. That would also work too. The Jedi angle is just so hard because we've never seen, and again, like this just may be something that Tony decided, like, hey, we can pull this off, but like we've never actually seen a Jedi post Order 66 be so out in the open,
extreme, like and doing extreme dark side type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically like, if he is a Jedi, like he's really like just uncaring about like the entire situation in the galaxy.
He's done essentially what Anakin Skywalker did, but didn't do it in the name of evil. He became evil in the name of good, which I still don't see a Jedi doing, and that's kind of where I was going. Like the counters for Luthen being a Jedi, I don't think Tony would do it because that gets too legacy and cynical, and we know he hates that type of stuff. B, I also think Luthen being a Jedi kind of takes the rug out from under the series of Andor, which to me is showing that the rebel movement was not because of space wizards. It was because of regular people who were being oppressed, fighting back and taking what was theirs. You know what I mean? Like it would just kind of it would cheapen the feel of the formation of the Rebel Alliance. Oh, the Jedi, the good guys, of course they did it. How does a Jedi amass so much wealth and possession throughout their life? How does a Jedi have a shop right in the middle of fucking Coruscant's shopping district, a few blocks down from two Sith Lords who were able to hunt down every other Jedi across the galaxy outside of Yoda and Ben Kenobi? How does he not get noticed, literally living on Coruscant among the people, not even hiding himself? Would a Jedi be able to make the choices he's made? Like Nick said, would a Jedi be able to burn his good character in the name of the hope of a better day? I don't think Jedis would go that far. But he does seem to have some gifts, the power of motivation. He's a hell of a pilot. You've got you've got his walking stick could be construed as a lightsaber. But I could see him potentially being motivated through being related to Jedi and seeing what happened to them with Order 66, and maybe he had family members in the Order, and that motivated him to do what he's doing. But I don't see a Jedi going to the dark side lengths that Luthen has had to go to start a rebellion. It just doesn't, why wasn't he in communication with the big guys then? You know what I mean? I don't know. There's things that make you want to think Luthen has the Force, but if he was a Jedi, the dude has completely ignored all of his teachings, unlike any other surviving Jedi during this time period.
I will say too that like I agree with you. If like all of a sudden a Jedi pops out of here, it would be really it would do such a disservice to Tony's own fucking like words, and it just like you would have to do so much hoop jumping to make that make sense. To me, what would be better, like it's even hard to like try to shove him in as like a Republic War veteran, because like people would know him as a Republic War veteran. Like he would be known. He would have some sort of stature as a Republic War veteran. He seems
like a Coruscanti aristocrat, and that's not a position you're in to hide in. Yeah, especially if you are Jedi. I mean, again, we know through canon that the Jedi were systematically hunted down and exterminated outside of new Jedi that they added because of cartoons and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda. That's it. Like, they were all wasted. So how could a guy live in the upper echelons of Coruscant and not be found out by the motherfucking Sith Lord who is within his vicinity? I mean, Palpatine, I just read Hidden Empire #1. He force choked Kira across the galaxy. Okay?
I mean, yeah. So I would imagine that he would pretty quickly pick out this Luthen character and be like, you know what? You're doing a good job of hiding from everybody else, but I can see that you're a fucking Jedi, or see that you're a Force user. My guess is that like, yeah, he's got some pretty good piloting skills, but like, I wouldn't say that piloting skills that he showed off were like you had to be a Jedi to do it. Like there are some fucking really good pilots in the Rebellion. Wedge, to name one. Basically everybody in Rogue Squadron were like the tops of the tops, and the only one that we know of that was a fucking Jedi was Luke. So you could get away with saying like, okay, he's just like a good pilot. To me, like what rings the most true about him is that he's probably from the underworld. Like he probably like dabbled around in the whether it be Crimson Dawn or one of the other underworld factions in the past. And then like when all of this went down with the Empire, he was like, look, it's time to bring the underworld to the forefront in a way and ensure that, because the Empire is bad for the underworld too. Like it's like they're not doing any favors to the underworld. But I think that that's probably the best thing, is that like he was maybe like a smuggler. He was a runner. A smuggler would make a lot of sense because he has he would have access to all of the shit that he has in his shop. It would give him the ability to pilot the way that he pilots. We know that Han Solo is an incredible pilot. Poe Dameron was an incredible pilot. And that it would seem to me like that would be the most like, if you're going to pin him as something, a smuggler for the underworld would be a good one. That would also give him access. Like if this motherfucker came across a lightsaber, you don't have to be a Jedi to use a lightsaber. You just whip that thing around like whatever. Like,
yeah, I still
so maybe
feel
he
like
would have come across a lightsaber that way.
I still feel like he came from money or has always had money. Like I don't know how the economy or how things work in the upper echelons of Coruscant, but the way it's presented to me, it feels like you couldn't just be a businessman and be like, hey, I want that shop on this level of Coruscant. It's almost like you have to have that old money in Star Wars to reach the level of prominence that he has on Coruscant with his shop and wherever the fuck he lives with his little wig on here. The underworld angle, I don't know, because Trevor brings up a good point in the live stream chat. If he was in the underworld, what's his motivation then to start a rebellion? Because, and here's where I'll kind of argue your one point, that the underworld didn't love the Empire. They actually didn't mind it because the Empire still let them do what they wanted to, as long as they didn't fuck with the Empire too much. And that's been dealt with in these recent comic book runs. In fact, Sidious in Hidden Empire #1 finally met with all the heads again, like, listen, you idiots, Jabba, Zizor, the Pikes. Why are all you dumb fucks fighting each other? It's because Crimson Dawn told you to. Because they said whoever won this crime world boss or war would gain my favor. He's like, I don't give a shit. He's like, you guys do whatever the hell you want. Take out Crimson Dawn. She's tricking you. We don't care about the underworld. Just don't, fuck with us. So yeah, why would Luthen have this motivation to, as he said, burn his life to restore freedom to the galaxy?
I also think that, like, just because you are a smuggler in the underworld doesn't mean that you are just a heinous piece of shit in all regards. Like, you can care about people in general, well-being of the galaxy. Like, those are not two mutually exclusive things. Even, Han Solo, smuggler in the underworld, long time.
Yeah, he eventually becomes a good guy. I see that. I don't know. I think
the Empire. Billy D, or Lando, same shit.
I think Luthen's deeper, though.
Scoundrel.
I think Luthen's deeper. I don't know. Here's the other thing. Trevor says he seems like someone doing it for revenge. Well, that would be very un-Jedi-like there, so that kind of takes that out. I could see it this. What if Luthen's kid or kids were in the Jedi Order and they were fucking systematically murdered? That would motivate somebody to do something, right? That could line some stuff up. Luthen is a very intriguing character these days, and I just don't know how much of his past we'll honestly get, because it's not his series. I don't think it's really. I don't think Tony gives a shit. Is there room for Luthen exposition in season 2 when you're only going to have 3-episode arcs to cover a full year? I don't know. I hope there is, because I would sure as fuck love some insights into what motivated this guy to do what he's doing. But if we're just going to blanket say he's a Jedi, man, is he a very unique Jedi, because he's essentially going against all of his teachings, has become a dark side user for good, which isn't very Jedi-like. And again, if he was a Jedi, how does he get all these possessions? How does he get this place on Coruscant with all this money? Jedis forego all possessions. They can't have any. They're taken when they're kids. They have no money. They have no wealth. They have nothing to it. How does he reintegrate into that and be this character that senators would come to shop for antiques? I don't know. Hey, it's proof of a great character. We're all going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over this guy, spinning our wheels trying to speculate, but I don't know. If he is just a full-on Jedi, that would be a very unique take on a Jedi. It's unlike any other Jedi we've ever been witness to, because he broke bad, but did it for good, which a Jedi would not do.
Yeah, it'll be. I hope they go more into his character, because I think that he is definitely the most interesting of the characters that are still in the show right now.
He's asking, do you think Ahsoka was ever motivated by revenge? I do not. What did she do out of revenge then?
Yeah,
I'm asking the stream here. I know it's not Nick's idea. The only Jedi I know that was motivated by revenge really would be Anakin.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be combative here. I don't agree that Ahsoka was ever motivated by revenge to do anything, because not that I can remember. I'm open to examples, but what was she motivated to do out of revenge? She's going after Thrawn. I don't think in a sense of revenge. I think she's trying to find Ezra. I don't consider that revenge, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think that she was motivated by revenge.
Well, 1/6.
I don't know.
If that's true,
I just don't think that Luthen is a.
Me neither. But I like this. I like the back and forth. So now 1/6, you're saying a Jedi wouldn't do unless he saw the beginning of the Empire wipe out his friends. Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi saw it firsthand, and he didn't go crazy, right? It took him 10 years, and he just sat idly by for 9 more until Luke was ready. So I don't know. That's what I mean. There's no example if Luthen is a Jedi, there's no previous example, at least in my dumb head, of a Jedi doing what he has done. It's very anti-Jedi. It's much more Sith, but in the name of good versus evil. And just all the possession shit. Like, how does he? And I'm not talking about the antiques. I'm talking the dude lives on fucking Coruscant as an antiques dealer. Like, he's got money.
Yeah. I don't know.
1-6.
I think
1-6. I need a guest host next week. I want it to be you, so you and I can go back and forth with competing views on Jedi and the Force.
Yeah, because I'm not going to be here.
That's right. Nick is not here for the finale talk next week, which bums me out. But I'll either do it solo or get someone else in here. I mean, we could argue that, two sides of the same coin over and over, but if Luthen's a Jedi, it's very contrary to what we know about any existing Jedi, the most famous Jedi of all time, and it doesn't line up to how a Jedi would live their life, even in exile. The possession thing being the biggest. Like, where does he get all this money if he was a Jedi until he was in his 40s or 50s? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's hard to see him as a Jedi. It's hard to see him as a Jedi. I'll follow you.
But I don't know, man.
Not,
it's weird. I'm not completely turned off to the fact that the Force somehow was involved in this dude's life. I'm not. I'm completely open to the idea. And if it is revealed he's Jedi, if it's done right, I'm down. It just means it would just be a very wild take. It goes
against what Tony said.
That's the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest con for this argument, him being a Jedi, because it would kind of cheapen what has all been laid out before us in Andor. It's like, oh, well, the space wizards are the reason for this too. They do all the good shit. The space wizard, his son blows up the fucking Death Star. We forget about all the sacrifice that the Cassians and Jyn Erso had to do because the space wizard kid shows up and blows shit up. So I'm with you. It's weird, but I think it's a good weird because we're all sitting here thinking about it and wanting it to go one way or another. And to me, that is a sign of good writing and good Star Wars.
We also know, though, that not every Force-sensitive person was recruited to the Order. There are Force sensitives out there that either are Force sensitive, but they don't actually, they can't control the Force very well. They were too old when the Order found out that they were Force sensitive or whatever. There are millions, probably billions of people in the galaxy that have some level of Force sensitivity that just fell out of the purview of the Order for one reason or another. And then later in life discover that they can have some level of control over the Force. So I would put it at Jedi 0%. I'll say that. But Force sensitive, Force something possible.
Yeah, I mean, he had a kyber crystal. He talked about his heritage. You never know. I mean, it could be a religion to him, like it is to the Wills people, to Sheridan Bays. I don't know. Hey, hopefully we get the answer. Hopefully we get something.
No, yeah, I do hope so. And now, I mean, we're almost definitely he's going to be in season 2. That is,
Yeah, that I think
he's going to be there
deal.
Unless something crazy fucking happens in the last episode where he gets killed, and then all of a sudden him saying season 2 stuff you've been telling me, Matt, when I was he should be dead in season 1. So I mean, there's possibility to find out that he's definitely still.
A few more things from the Peanut Gallery. Thank you all. It's a good session today. Tony said there would not be Easter eggs. Tony didn't put them in. The art department did. So we can get out on that one. Tony did not lie. We just talked about last week. The other one, Nick, you may know about this. This could be legend, but apparently Dooku had an apprentice named Rael Averross. Is that legend, or does that ring a bell or anything? Because the only Padawan that I knew Dooku had was Qui-Gon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about it. If it's in the new stuff, then I definitely don't know about it. Rael Averross?
Averross. Averross.
Yeah,
I mean, that would have been a very... See, even then, we could be... That could be... Age would be off because Dooku's last apprentice was Qui-Gon, who was not an old man, but Qui-Gon. We think Qui-Gon was in the TPM in his 40s or 50s.
TPM?
Yeah.
Qui-Gon,
40s or 50s?
Probably early 40s. Okay. I would say early 40s. So here's what it says on Wikipedia for Rael Averross. I mean, it kind of does fit. Rael Averross, Force-sensitive human male, was a Jedi and the Lord Regent of Pijal, the Pijal monarchy.
There you go. That makes sense.
So given that would give him the ability to whatever, like, you know, he knows about antiquities. He has money.
That covers the money and possession thing.
Trained by Jedi Master Dooku. Averross took the less strict approach of the ways of the Jedi Order. Falls into what we're seeing with Luthen. Around 40 BBY, he requested the help of Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi during a dispute between the Zerka Corporation and the Pijal monarchy. That's all that we have on him right now.
Is that coming from
the Jedi
canon
Order,
or legend? They usually mark it.
This is canon.
Scroll down. Where does it give you first appearance? If they usually do that. If you scroll to the bottom.
Appearances are in Master and Apprentice. First appearance simultaneous with Master and Apprentice audio book.
Okay, so is that the new Count Dooku book that came out recently? Then
no. So this one was released 2019.
Well, then
Claudia Gray, Master and Apprentice, focuses on Obi-Wan, and it's canon. Focuses on Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon 8 years prior to Episode 1.
All right. So he's older than Qui-Gon then. He would have been Dooku's first apprentice.
Dooku Lost Jedi. He was in there in flashbacks. So I mean, it's possible. It's possible because this guy does seem to like have some traits that
another thing I was thinking is like, well, if he is Jedi, and it's weird that Trevor brought this up being at the Count. I was like, what if he's like the Count? Literally, I mean, he was called Count Dooku for a reason. He was in a monarchy of some sort, royalty, but became a Jedi. So yeah, he would have came from money and all that, and we saw what Dooku did. And all right, I don't know, man. I guess we're now just at Tony's own edicts preventing this from him being a Jedi, but that nugget definitely. I wonder.
I mean, I will say that, like, I mean, he wielded a blue lightsaber in combat. Human male, black hair, strong, muscled physique, and relatively short height.
It can't be it. He had black hair. He had black hair.
Shoulders. Yeah, so tan skin, dark eyes. I mean, all of that. Yeah.
Well, they can change that shit. I mean,
Ringo Vindon accent. I mean, Luthen definitely has an accent.
I mean, Filoni himself has manipulated canon. So, I mean, if it's written, that canon can be manipulated. So they definitely could take a tan black hair guy and make him a white skinned blonde if they want to.
Yeah. I also like how in this thing they specifically called out. It's so funny. I've never seen this before. He was more flexible in his views concerning the Jedi Code, making time to have sex, but without forming attachments. That's literally what it says. So, he had a casual sexual relationship with Selby, the local innkeeper.
Jedi, for a Jedi, a one-night stand is ideal, right? No commitments, no connections. So that's great. He's out there. He's like Nick Cannon fucking populating the galaxy. There you go.
This is so funny. Averross adhered to the light side of the Force, unlike most Jedi. Averross did not care about his image, even to the point of consuming death sticks on Takodana. He also complained about aging after writing
this guy was a real fucking player, huh? I mean, he's like a fucking, he's a degenerate Jedi. I don't know if Luthen's that degenerate. I don't know. Hey, who knows?
Maybe.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There are some dots that connect.
Similarities. Yeah.
There are some dots that can connect. I'm not gonna lie. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But I'm gonna keep going back to my point. Like, look, this is why this show is brilliant. I think we've just spent 30 minutes trying to figure out who the fuck Luthen Rael could be, a fake character on a fake TV show. So kudos to Tony and his team, regardless if he's lying to us or not. Who knows? I'm definitely in there somewhere. Like Luthen and Force can live in the same sphere. I'm there somewhere. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna, like I said, could it be family members, his kids, or is it him, or is he the guy? Please just call season 2 Luthen, right?
Dude, I'm telling you, Spark of the Rebellion, like with some shit that's not like specifically Cassian's name, man. It can't be Cassian's name.
Wait,
it's just there's too many other things. But yeah,
we'll see. I don't know. I guess how do they even reveal that? I don't think there's time or a place in the finale to even get into any like Luthen backstory. I don't know if we're gonna get it. I don't.
Yeah.
Because I mean, do you dedicate an episode, which is essentially we got to figure is going to take up 3.5 months of time in season 2 if 3 episodes cover a year? Man.
Dude, I would dedicate an entire, like, if it was me, I would have dedicated a 3-episode arc in
just to Luthen
season 1 to him, like early in season 1.
It is. I'm starting to feel like it's like, damn, Tony, I wish you weren't so quick to be done with Star Wars, because I could get into the full 5 seasons they initially envisioned.
Yeah.
You know, where you get 12 episodes to tell a year like we're getting season 1. But he's like, you know what? Star Wars, I'm over it. I'm good. I've made my mark. Everyone loves me. I'm out after season 2.
Look, when he's out there and the offers aren't coming in, and then he remembers like, hey man, they told me I could make 5 seasons of this. Let me go back and see if they'll let me back in the Star Wars world.
Yeah. And these days I would gladly welcome him back. I think Tony, as much as we like to have fun with him, he's proven his mettle. There's no doubt about it. Between Rogue One and what he's done with 11 episodes of Andor, the dude may not like Star Wars and you may think we're a bunch of losers, but he definitely plays well in the sandbox and knows how to tell a story. So much so that we just went on a tangent for way too long and haven't even finished our top 5 moments yet. So let's go ahead and get back to that one.
Technically haven't even got there.
The last moment, and I touched on it talking about Diego's performance, but I really did like the final conversation between Melshi and Cassian, because I think it showed further continued growth with Cassian and his mindset. Yes, this guy is a guy that is now ready to go out there and kind of fight for the freedom of the galaxy, but he wasn't expecting the news he got on that call, and I think that changed the plans he probably had on Neamos. I don't think Cassian was expecting to hear that Marva died, and I don't think he was expecting to be thinking about taking himself back to Ferric so soon. But I like the scene because it firmly establishes the bond between Andor and Melshi, which should continue into season 2 and obviously in the Rogue One. It's a big deal because Melshi is the lead sergeant in the unit that goes to Scarif. I mean, he also is the guy that breaks Jyn out. So I mean, he's a pretty key character. But just it further confirmed that this is no longer the Cassian of episodes 1 through 7. This is a completely different Cassian. He is now much more like his mother, where he understands, hey, it's not all about me and getting my thing and doing what I want to do. It's about doing the right thing for everybody, standing up for the little guys and girls out there and fighting back against this empire now, which is locking people up for life and turning them into slave labor. And so it was a very definitive moment where he and Melshi make a pledge, like, listen, great chance we're the only 2 that got out, and people need to know what is happening now. And you got to think, no one else in the galaxy, they know the PROD's been out there, but all that was to, reevaluate sentences and maybe increase them. They don't know that it means once you're locked up in this empire now, you're locked up until you die. So, yeah.
There is no getting out.
The prison life changed him. Meeting Kino, meeting people like Melshi, Ulaf, all those guys in there changed him, and this scene just cemented that fact. But Nick, I think that really the big moment, and I was going to touch on it in our Easter eggs and references. But this scene mirrors Cassian's end in Rogue One, where he is looking out to the horizon at a bright, flashing light. And now you got to wonder when you're watching that scene, is Cassian thinking like, hey, look what I did, Mom. You know, I know you never. I mean, you never got to see who I became. Yeah, I left, and I was still all about me and being safe and getting my money. But look what I have achieved in the name of rebellion.
It's the two times his life ended.
Yeah,
I mean that's what it is. I mean, this is the life that he led prior to officially dedicating himself to the rebellion.
You're right. That's
right
a perfect way to describe it. Like that is a demarcation point in Cassian's life. Was that the call he got, learning that his mom died, but also him and Melshi committing to the cause, essentially saying, yeah, we need to go spark the motherfucking rebellion, like Nick said at the start of the show. It's going to be up to people like you and me to do this. And as he's looking out, I think he's thinking in his head like, all right, I got to go to Ferrix. We know that's a done deal, even though it's the worst fucking decision. A man 2 times on the run now, right? I mean, he was on the run before he got locked up. He got locked up for not being on the run. Now he's an escaped convict. But he's going to go back to one of the hottest zones in the Empire right now because of Aldhani and his initial killing of some Morlana 1 security pros. But I think Nick is right. This is it. This is a chapter has ended for Cassian, and he is looking out knowing that things are going to get kind of interesting moving forward, because I am, even more so than before I learned that my mom was dead, I am going to dedicate myself to rebellion. But first, I'm going to do something really stupid and go back and go to my mom's funeral and probably get a lot more of my friends killed there and fuck shit up. But at least we'll get the party started on Ferrix. Rebellion time.
Rebel time, baby.
No, there's no doubt. Like I said, the Marva funeral surprise is going to be the official kickoff of the rebellion on Ferrix for those people.
Yeah.
It's going to be 100. A big fuck you to the Empire presence there, and it's going to be a coming out party for everybody, including our man Andor. All right, man, let's get into those Easter eggs and references for Andor S1E11, Daughter of Ferrix. There was a few good ones this time, unlike last week. But still few and far between, which is quite all right. I'm glad when the art department doesn't get a chance to place shit on set. I actually had someone be like, hey man, you missed the tablets, you missed this, you missed that. I'm like, bro, where you been? Like, I'm not going to repeat everything in the antiquity shop every time we go there. Like, we get it. There's lots of fucking Easter eggs. But a cool one starting up, I always like seeing ships in live action, especially when they are very rarely used. And we got early on, as Melshi and Cassian were hanging on to the cliffside, we got to see the good old TIE Reaper, which was actually first used in Rogue One. And now a very fun ship to have in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. There you go. Devin, he knows what's happening with those funeral bricks. You know it. I mean, as we said earlier, you do not put that much focus on that tradition, that ritual, without it being paid off on. Yeah. How about this one, Nick? We were both wondering, how are these dudes going to get off planet? Never did I think just 2 local random alien fishermen in a quad jumper would be the answer, but we got it. So that's more than likely not the quad jumper that Rey wanted to use instead of the Falcon, but same model, and it was a nice kind of callback to that scene in the Force Awakens. Hey, speaking of those fishermen, even with captions on, I had a hard time understanding what the fuck they were saying, but does their choice make any sense to where they're like, yeah, let's sell them to the Empire, or kill them and get our money, and then within 2 seconds they're like, fuck it, let's let them go. Yeah. It's like, okay.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if these people, they may have never dealt with the Empire before, but also like there are 2 aliens that are walking up to the Empire with like 2. Do you think that's going to go well for you, alien guy? They're probably going to fucking take your ass too.
Yeah, especially now that they know that they've had a prison break on this planet. Yeah. And, one of the pods has fully emptied all its 5,000 humans out. It was just weird how, I mean, it was 1 second to 1 second. I'm not even talking like 30 seconds down the road. They're like, yeah, let's let's sell them, fuck the Empire, let's get our money. And they're like, fuck it, fuck the Empire, let's let them go. And do you guys need a ride? We'll take it, even though our planet is probably under heavy surveillance and security right now, but we'll fly away on our quad jumper and drop you off on Space Florida. Hey, they got their aliens though, right? There you go. A lot of people wanted aliens, now we got them. I'm not quite sure what the fuck they were saying though. All right, so back to Luthen's space bottle. I can tell I've been talking too long here. I'm starting to get rubber lipped here. Boogie. Lots of cool things here. First and foremost being the obvious one, but you get the Cantwell class, and it's referred to as a Cantwell class arrestor cruiser, which is fantastic. This actually, Nick, appeared in the recruiting video in Solo when Han was being recruited. But this is the first time we actually got to see the Cantwell class arrestor in live action, in use, being used. And this was designed way back in the 70s by Colin Cantwell, who is credited with designing a lot of our kick-ass ships in Star Wars. So it was awesome to kind of get to see it out there. But the other reason we're talking about this scene, if you remember, when he's looking for a call sign or a different transponder code, he uses one from Alderaan. So you get that mentioned there. It's like, hey, let's throw Alderaan under the bus and make them look like they're doing shady shit.
Yeah, it's like, that's why they picked them to blow the planet up, because they're like, that one fucking craft, he was from Alderaan.
That and Princess Leia being the stepdaughter of Organa, that sealed their fate. That was nice to see this ship. It is a wild looking fucking ship, but it maintains that Empire aesthetic. And you had to love, man, the way he got around it, opening with that flechette. A volley of flechettes to just shred that disc, which also crazy. Dislodged the tractor beam. That was sweet. Speaking of TIE variants, we got another one this episode during the space battle when we see a TIE bomber drop out of the hangar alongside two traditional TIEs. So I'm always a fan of the Empire's vehicles. They always look cooler, even though they're not necessarily on my list, because the Empire vehicles, while they look cool, they're all very sterile. They don't have personality. You know what I mean? So
they don't. None of them have cool paint jobs.
Exactly.
You can't put any sort of like
their hyper drives don't break all the time and make that sounds, So, but they sure as hell look cool and they are powerful. And then the last one we just talked about. It's no reason to really put too much more time on it. But Cassian's ocean stare, definitely paralleling the moment in Rogue One where he is looking out to the ocean, knowing that his fate has been sealed. And as like Nick said here, his fate is about to change as he looks to the horizon and thinks of rebellion.
Yeah.
Okay, so thoughts, got that. This is kind of a random one here. But would you agree with this statement? Luthen Rael is the Sheev Palpatine of the Rebel Alliance.
It's an interesting way to put it.
In terms of long game planner and dabbles in the dark. Not necessarily dark side, but will do some pretty heinous things to get his plan to come to fruition.
He is ruthless, and he has that ruthless type of attitude that Palpatine does. The long game part of it I find interesting because he's actually trying to do the opposite of a long game.
Well,
he's trying to.
You're right. At this stage, it's accelerating. But remember, he's been doing this for 15 years up till Aldhani. But you're correct. We are in an accelerationist period.
Yeah, I will say that I don't know. I mean, it is kind of close. They are pretty similar. I was going to say that Palpatine is much more manipulative and it actually worked his way into power purely based off of manipulation.
In terms of who is better at this, Palpatine, it's not even close. Like he took over a fucking galaxy, but Luthen on a slightly smaller scale is motivating a galaxy to rebel. And ultimately, it's going to take damn near 20 years for the first actual deadly punch to take place, and that's the destruction of Death Star 1.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, maybe that may be a good categorization that he is kind of the Palpatine of the rebellion, because he does have, while to a lesser degree he does have similar methods of manipulation. He does have like multiple like he is very good at hiding his identity from most of the galaxy, except for the people who need to know it the most. Very close circle of trusted companions like Palpatine. So yeah, I think that's actually like a pretty decent categorization.
All right. Again, I don't really know why I wrote that down. It could be after I was trying some of my medicine. Who knows? But it seemed like an idea that we could potentially discuss. So thank you for your thoughts. Tones, we'll catch you later. Real quick, Tones was not wrong. We're going to move into our predictions for the finale. But before he leaves, or if he hasn't left already, there is going to be a post-credit scene here. All right? And the post-credit scene is going to pay off on the prison stuff and what they were doing in the prison. And if you are a follower of the SWTS and you actually pay attention, it is a speculation win for yours truly. All right? That's all I'm going to say. So post-credit in the finale, and the post-credit deals with what happened on Narkina 5 and kind of what was going on there. I'll leave it at that. So you're saying he's a Jedi. Back to Luthen. Yeah, sure, why not? I can't commit either way, and I know I usually can be very committal. The most I can say, and I don't want to go back down the Luthen rabbit hole, is he definitely is tangentially tied to the Force. How's that? There could be some forcery in his past.
Or somewhere in his past or his family.
Yeah, it's family related or forcery. I'll leave it at that. So, okay. All right, Nick. Since I've been yammering here, the finale I think is honestly pretty laid out for us. I mean, outside of exactly what the outcome is going to be on Ferrix, but I believe a bulk of the finale will be Ferrix based. As I said, all the chess pieces have been moved there thanks to episode 11. Cyril's on his way, stole his mom's money. He's going to get himself a ride there for sure. I believe Dedra was headed there in the little brief scene she got in episode 11. Cassian is not going to be able to keep himself from going back there. He was there literally a day after stealing the quarterly payroll for an Imperial sector. The guy just isn't smart when it comes to the feelings he has for a mom, which I'm sure most of us can kind of get down with. Family's family.
Yeah.
Clearly, the Daughters of Ferrix, via the passing of Marva, have something planned. I think it is going to be explosive at this funeral.
Cyril's headed there too.
Yep. He's going to be on Ferrix. Who else do we have to worry about? Luthen, Vel, and Cinta. Clearly, that operation has been in place for episodes. Cinta's on top of them. The fact that they kind of have Cinta and the ISB spy talking now, that could lead to something where either the ISB spy spots Cinta as a spy or vice versa, where they kind of figure out both are spying at the same time, and that could lead to some hijinks. And ultimately, does Luthen get involved? That's the deal. I mean, after what just happened to him, I mean, he just had a risky mission to Sagar Milo that Clea didn't want him to do. After that one, he almost got blown up or boarded. So the heat's really up there. So does Luthen himself go there, or does he just continue to work through Vel and Cinta on Ferrix? That's the one thing I don't quite know. And ultimately, what happens right before the credits roll? I do think there's a win for the good guys, and we have some rebellion started on Ferrix thanks to the Daughters of Ferrix, the arrival of Cassian, and the mistakes of Cyril Karn. And that's really going to piss off Dedra if we don't learn that she is indeed Cassian's sister.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to get the ringing of the bells?
Fuck yeah,
like
dude.
We did last time?
I hope to God they bust out the Ferrix ring alert system Like
Yeah.
ding, ding, ding. It just it's going to be a big event. This funeral is going to be a surprise that the Empire won't soon forget, nor will freedom fighters. I mean, this to me, it's going to be kind of like another Aldani in terms of the Empire going, holy shit, there is something happening now. Like, this is... Aldhani was one thing. We thought we could, shut everyone up with the PROD and tightening our grip, but now this is happening on Ferrix. We have a legitimate problem at this point in time. I mean, I think that's how big of an event Marva's funeral is going to be.
Yeah,
but the true end,
the
true end's hard for me. I mean, is it a full positive ending, Nick, or is there some tragedy mixed in?
There's definitely tragedy. I mean, Bix is dead. Like, she's fucking toast. There's no way she stays alive.
Whatever her name spoiled that though already. I think in an interview,
the person who plays
she
her?
talked about season 2 and when filming starts and all that. So
why? Why? You're trying to get Cassian to a point to where he has nothing left. I mean, maybe they kill all these characters in season 2, but
right.
You're not doing yourself any favors by leaving these people alive any longer. Like, you're trying to get him to the point to where he ices this dude when in the beginning of Rogue One, where he literally has nothing. He has nothing left but the rebellion. And if you leave all of his friends alive, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
You know who I think eats it for sure? Brasso.
I would say Brasso, the guy who takes
Brasso.
the droid.
I think Brasso. Yeah. Maybe Brasso eats it and saving B2. Like, he throws B2 in the Cassian ship as he pulls away and he gets blown up. The very end just is eluding me right now. I can't envision it for some reason. I mean, after the big surprise and the serial fuck up, what is the ultimate end? Like, what happens? Is it like an ending like Empire Strikes Back, you thinking, where there's a small victory, but the bad guys still seem like they have the upper hand? Or is it going to be more like a good guy centric ending like A New Hope?
I do think that the ending is going to essentially be like, the rebellion is now like out there. Like, there is now, like, the ISB will be able to say, like, there is an official rebellion underway. Because I think at this point, even Patagaz has been like, there's, localized activity, blah, blah, blah. I think, like, now there will be like a rebellion is brewing at the very least for the rebel faction, or for like our main characters. I do think there's going to be loss. Brasso is a good call. I hope that other important characters die that are in this show. At least I think that Ferrix is. I think that the big thing is going to be that, like, Ferrix is going to, after whatever happens here, Ferrix is going to be like a fucking prison colony. Like, they're gonna take that planet and they're gonna make an example of it. Yeah. And I feel like that may be the big thing. Is like, yeah, you get your W here as a rebel. During this funeral, but what comes after for the planet of Ferrix is going to be like just hardcore Imperial oppression. None of this like, oh, we're hanging around and we're gonna like keep eyes on everybody. It will be an all-out like,
shoot first, like, ask questions later type of scenario. Not even like Neomos where you get arrested for being a tourist. Here, if Cassian was Keef, they would have just fucking shot him in the face or let the security droid choke him out. Yeah, I do. I think it is more like an Empire ending where it's like, all right, we can see that the good guys are getting wins, but fuck, it doesn't look good for them. They're also taking it in the mouth right now. So yeah, and I'm not off on the B2 sacrifice either, but I still think there's B2's gone, but you'll get we back them up. Kind of like the C-3PO thing in Tross. I'm still holding out that B2 has some sort of connection to K2. I see that through line for some reason. Yeah, I'm excited. I am genuinely excited for this. Like I said, I got the day off. That's one good thing about my profession. Around holidays, we get lots of time off, but I'll still get up early and probably make myself feel like I'm working. But I'm excited to see how this all resolves, because I do think it's going to. I think it's going to have a great ending that makes the first season feel justified and like things were paid off on. But I also think it's going to keep us wanting more and, kind of on the edge of our seats waiting for season 2, which, they're just starting filming, I think today or tomorrow, or at least by Friday. So there's no chance we're getting this until 2024.
Yeah, no, this is definitely not coming out next year. I mean, I think that next year, you have Ahsoka, you have
and
Bad
Skeleton
Batch,
Crew, and Mando
Skeleton
and Bad Batch.
Crew.
That's 4 tentpole
that's
style
4
shows. So I think they're clean and in the clear for 23. And then 24, you'd have Andor 2 and the Acolyte, and possibly Mando S4 if it pushes to end.
We also have to. Now, like if we want to, we can kind of transition into this other piece that we kind of touched on earlier. But like this lineup and what's in development may change significantly now that there's been a huge change. You want to go to
Bobby Boy? All right, let's go to Bobby Boy.
Yeah, because for those of you who haven't been keeping up with just like general Disney news, Bob Chapek, the CEO who took over after Bob Iger in 2020, has been fired. Like it wasn't like he stepped down; they fired his ass because this was a pretty big loss. Like Disney took a pretty big loss in terms of like financials and quarterlies in this most recent report. And Disney board has rehired Bob Iger as the CEO of Disney. He's 2 years, and his mandate is to set the strategic direction for renewed growth
and find another replacement. That's in there too.
Yeah,
I don't think this guy wants to be doing this shit. He's rich as fuck. He probably just wants to be hanging out on yachts and islands, and but they had to bring him back.
Yeah, and I can understand why. When you're Disney...
Hey, riff on this for a second. For the first time in a long time, I'm going to piss my pants, so sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I got it here for a second, for sure. So, in this situation, you have to figure that you have the largest growing streaming service on the planet. Disney Plus has higher user growth than any other streaming platform on the market right now. You have... the most popular movie franchise in the world right now in the Marvel universe, and you have licenses for one of the more popular products out there in Star Wars. And with Chapek, they were unprofitable. They were losing money. From what insiders have said, he was really screwing up the entire parks business by raising prices so much. One thing that Star Wars fans can see that in is the cost that it was to try to go to Galactic Battlecruiser, like the Halcyon Hotel in Star Wars. It was $3,000 a night. In fact, as a Disney Vacation Club member, I literally during this podcast just got an email saying that all Disney Vacation Club members now have 30% off of stays at the Halcyon Hotel. So bringing Bob Iger back is not just going to be like, okay, well, Bob Iger's back, we're going to make more money. Like, Bob Iger is going to take a review of everything that's in development probably and say like, hey, we're going to nix this, we're going to change this, we're going to do this different, we're going to make a movie here, we're going to make a show here. And basically you're going to be in a position to where a lot of projects that have been announced may have some changes done to them for profitability reasons. And given the fact that one of the big losers, even though it was a massive, it is massive in terms of the streaming world, one of the big losers was Disney Plus.
It's still just mind blowing. Like how these people fuck this stuff up.
Yeah, I don't know if like they just completely underestimated how many people were going to take advantage of these bundles.
But come on, man. Like you got smart people there. You got people that understand data. Like you couldn't have figured out a price point even for bundles where you at least make a profit. Like what the fuck?
Yeah. I don't know how all of that went down. I will say that like the people that like when this happened, I followed a lot of people who like worked like affiliated with Disney, talent for Disney, stuff like that. They all hated Chapek, all of them. Like it was Phil Shostak, the guy who is like one of these like Star Wars historians that works for Lucasfilm and Disney. Like when it came down that Chapek got fired and Iger replaced him, he put up this cheeky post of like the post of like Luthen in Andor when he's got his wig on and he's like standing all like happy and funny in his shop, and just superimposed over it, he just put a W. So like, as in win. Like, people hated Bob Chapek for whatever reason. I don't know all the interior stuff that was happening over there. People hated him, didn't like to work for him. But I will say that this is going to have an effect on Star Wars almost assuredly. So 2023 might be a locked in, like, this is what we're getting. I would say just reset your expectations for 2024 and beyond, because with Iger now back in charge, the landscape for Star Wars could look very different.
Well, dude, I mean, you're spot on, because at this point, and we just reported this a few casts ago, Star Wars was off the map until 2025 on Disney's movie roadmap. This is a real thing. This isn't speculative. It came out. They always, these studios will put out their roadmap for a few years down the line, and everything was gone outside of Star Wars title 2025. So with Iger being back, we could get back to the initial plan of, every other year rolling out a Star Wars movie, or every year rolling out a Star Wars movie, or at least putting more focus on Star Wars, because it does seem under Chapek's rule that at least the movie side of the house, there was zero fucks given. And I think some of that stems from the mistakes Iger made. Like, this is my opinion on Bob. Bob was in charge for buying of Star Wars, kind of setting the edicts to what to do with it, the sequel trilogy, so on and so forth. Reading scripts, watching dailies, all that shit. And he's the guy that, allowed these decisions to be made of, let's do a different director and screenwriter for every movie. Hey, Solo's having all sorts of fucking problems. We had to bring in another director and throw hundreds of millions of more dollars at it. But yeah, let's go ahead and keep it on its same spring release window, even though it didn't even get finished until a day or two before it was supposed to come out, because Mary Poppins was coming out in December. So Bob is also responsible for the Star Wars movie plans getting blowed the fuck up. But yeah, Nick's not wrong. Yeah. When you have a leader that people love, whether he deserves the love or not, I don't like any CEO, because I think they're way overpaid and they make too much money based on the work that the actual workers do. But I'm not going to get into that shit. If people love that guy at the company, better things are going to happen. Better products are going to come out. Better shows are going to be made. Better movie scripts are going to be written. It is going to change things. Nick is not wrong at all. I just hope that he does get the Star Wars movie shit back together, and we aren't sitting at 3 years out thinking, well, we're going to get anything. He should have a plan, and I think he will double down and back up anything Kathleen wants to do at this point.
Yeah. And here's, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Andor may be in trouble. And let's just be real. Andor's probably the least watched Star Wars TV show. Probably also had one of the highest budgets.
Dude, you don't have to say probably it is. I mean, I look at the Nielsen's, and they're usually 2 or 3 episodes behind. But last week, the Nielsen came out for, I think it was Andor episode 6 or 7, and it was like 7 or 8 in top 10 streaming. Where most of the time Star Wars will shoot up to like the 1s, 2s, or 3s. And even if you compare watch minutes to Book of Boba Fett or Kenobi, they are, at this point in the series, in terms of total minutes, they are doubling the amount of watch minutes that Andor has.
Yeah, I mean, so if I am Bob Iger, I'm coming in, I'm doing a review of all content. I look at all of our Disney Plus shows.
Tony, you're in the volume, pal.
Yeah, I look at Andor and I'm like, how much money did we spend to make this show? Is it more or comparable to what we spent on the other shows? It's more or comparable, and we have less than half of the viewing time. I'm sorry, Andor. you make some changes or you're out the door. It's not about what people like us think. Like, we're going to sit here and we're going to suck Andor's dick because, you know, it's a great piece of media. Yeah, but it's not bringing people in. It's not even getting the people who were watching the other Star Wars shows.
There's no doubt about it.
And you're arguably paying more to make it.
I mean, in the end, like, these guys are charged with what? What's a CEO's ultimate goal or job?
It's dollars in the door.
Not
baby.
even that.
Like,
increasing the stock price. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean,
so Nick's not wrong.
Like that.
But I mean, Bob's the one that killed the movie plans initially when he realized the money wasn't coming in after Solo. He's the one who's like, okay, fuck this a Star Wars story shit. We're killing this experiment after 2. Rogue One and Solo. Done. We didn't make our money on this one, so we're canceling it. So yeah, while Bob might be artist friendly and it does seem that the culture over there prefers a Bob Iger versus a Bob Chapek, Bob Iger's still coming in looking to make cash, and if that means we're not going to get as many practical sets or effects in Andor, then that's what it's going to mean. I don't think Andor's going anywhere. I think it's too out there and planned and produced. Like, literally they're shooting now, so unless Bob's going all Warner Brothers and is willing to take tax credits and just canceling hundreds of millions of dollars of already spent money, then I think Andor's safe. But Nick's not wrong. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of decisions being made, and who knows? I mean, some of the planned TV content may get restructured. Yeah, I mean, you have to figure that if you're your Star Wars, if you're Lucasfilm, you're dumping all of your money into Disney Plus shows, and Disney Plus is one of the biggest sinkholes in Disney now. That was the loss, right, Nick? It was like $1.4 billion in direct to consumer division, whatever the fuck that is, and I'm assuming that's the streaming stuff. Direct to consumer is streaming, yeah. Direct to consumer is streaming. So, like, I mean, what do you do at that point? Like, take your love of they've already increased subscription fees, right? I mean, we all pay more money for Disney Plus. Yeah, they raised prices for subscription fees. I think it was 99 cents. They raised them 99 cents for everybody. I still think it's good, but you know, I'm like Trevor's saying, Chapek was a finance guy. Like, to me, Chapek did always feel like a corpo. He's your fucking suit and tie jerk off that makes millions of dollars on the backs of everyone else's hard work. Iger is that too, but Iger is more of the artsy-fartsy type. I mean, he wanted to get a little more... he was getting dailies. I forget which series it was. I don't know if it was Solo or what, but... It was Mando. Yeah, you're right. But he's like, I'd give him notes and this and that. So, I mean, he isn't that hands-off, but Iger is definitely more artist-friendly, so... Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it's a good thing. And anything that gets cut, hopefully, is just fat, and it's not being cut just to cut like Warner Brothers does. I don't see Iger doing that, but he will trim fat if it needs trimmed. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on really how much, like, what their burn rate is. Like, if he sees like a high burn rate, then it's going to be interesting to see how he handles that. Hey, how's your business doing these days with what's going on with Twitter and people realigning ad buys? And have you noticed anything? I mean, I never advertised on Twitter for any of my brands because Twitter's not really a good. But I will say though that like the amount of ad money that's leaving Twitter is going to make it harder for the other platforms like Facebook and Instagram and Google and stuff like that, because people are gonna. It's not like they're just gonna be like, okay, well, Twitter ads, or we're turning off our Twitter ads. Let's just not spend that money. Like, they're putting that money into other platforms. So yeah, I mean, it definitely has kind of like a downhill effect on everything else. But I mean, it's an interesting ordeal to watch. I mean, it's sucky because of how many people no longer have a livelihood with what he's doing with Twitter. But it's interesting to watch powerful people burn shit down with ideas that aren't really thought through. So I guess we'll see what happens. That's one thing that I haven't jumped anywhere yet. I'm like, I could care less. I mean, I can tell I'm getting older and older because, you know, people are going to Hive is the big one this week. Last week it was Mastodon. Hive is this week. It's Hive. Everyone's going to Hive. It's like, oh well, I don't really care. I made a Hive account, and the only reason I did is because staking your name, right?
no, Star Wars people moved there.
Got
like
ya.
the Star Wars, like greater Star Wars kind of Twitter moved there like en masse.
Got you.
So a lot of people from there moved there, and then like the gaming industry too. Like gaming industry really
I guess,
didn't
if
adopt
we
Mastodon.
if we were smart, we probably should go there before it gets too crazy and try to establish the brand there, since we're like small fish on all the existing big platforms.
I'll make us a Hive account.
There you go. Yeah, Hive us up.
And then but that's kind of how it is right now. Is like you have a lot of these, like you have a lot of freedom now. You have a lot more, like the chokehold on social media has loosened quite a bit. And I used Mastodon, and I see the benefit in it in like a decentralized social network that like you don't have with Hive, but it also like Mastodon has a level of complexity that I feel like a lot of people are just like the vast majority of the general public is not going to flow.
Well, that could be good,
Like,
because
it
that means like the mouth breathers and cellar dwellers probably won't want to deal with the complexity, and they'll just stay away. Well,
so Mastodon, but I will say that Mastodon already has a problem with like neo-Nazi, like decentralized servers and factious shit like that. It's just like that's already been popping up
freedom of
on
speech,
Mastodon.
man. I'm a freedom of speech abolitionist.
Yeah.
Even though I'll kick people
Hive-
off if they make fun of me, but yeah, free speech.
Yeah.
Fucking genius, my ass.
Hive is one where it's like, to me, Hive is like a perfect mix between Twitter and Instagram.
Okay. All right.
So if you want to follow on Hive, I will
You're
create the
fired
Star
up?
Wars time.
All right, we probably won't
Yeah, I'll
post
create the
anything
Star
to it,
Wars
but it'll
time
be
stuff.
there. Because I mean, Instagram is still probably the only social network I use at this point. Like actually go and look at, and that's really because I'm a creep, and the algo has learned. And Nick, if you ever want to cash in on the algo, just fire up Star Wars Time Show on your phone, and you'll see all Reels content is essentially just girls and moms looking good and doing the thing that girls and moms do on TikToks and Reels. It's crazy.
Yeah,
like I think I
mean,
looked at 2 or 3 of them.
kind of-
Now everything is fucking like either hot girls golfing, or girls doing the dances, or the girls doing voiceovers with their boobs hanging out. So I'm a caveman.
That is that is what that's definitely what's taken over Instagram and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I'll make us Hive
right.
because I'm on Hive right now. And I post some of my AI artwork over there. So if you want to see any of that shit, you can go follow me on Hive.
Put up a poll
Just
if we
at
should
that
reinstate Darth Vader on the platform.
Yeah, no, let Darth
Because that makes
Vader
sense
back
too.
on
It's
Hive.
like, I mean, the poll, like, you host a very, like a lightning rod poll. It's hosted on your own account, so it only goes to your followers mostly. And most of your followers are probably from the far right at this point in time. But yeah, that's democracy on Twitter now. It's like, okay, dude, yeah, you got it. Yes, the people have spoken.
Crazy.
Put Trump back on, even though you ran the poll from your account. There's nothing shady about that. Oh, yeah. I digress. Who gives a shit, right? The world's going to hell in a handbag anyways. We just got to wait for it to explode. So you might as well have your fun and talk Star Wars. All right, man. Let's move on to this next quick hitter here, and then we'll get to the fan segment and shut this episode down for good. But those of you that still get into gaming and like Star Wars games, we just want to let you know, not that this should be shocking news, but the Game Awards coming up on December 8th. There's a good chance you're going to get the official debut of Jedi Survivor. Or not the official debut, because then we already get kind of a debut trailer or something like that.
Yeah, I think we already got something from it, but it's going to be like a more substantial dive into Jedi Survivor for sure.
According to Insider Gaming, which is this Tom Henderson guy, a legit source in gaming, so the announcement at the Game Award for Jedi Survivor is going to have a new trailer, the release date, and a pre-order date. It's believed the announcement will be made 30 minutes into the show. So there you go. For those that are excited to return to Cal Kestis, I'm not really that pumped. I'm definitely going to play it because why not? It's a Star Wars video game. But Cal Kestis just does nothing for me at all. I don't. I almost just don't like the guy at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play it just to see how the story continues and stuff. I really want to see what they do with the combat, because obviously that was one thing that was kind of
too.
right.
But they're not going to change it. They're not going to change it.
It would be difficult to change it at this
People
point.
liked it. I think I'm the only asshole that shit talks it every chance I get. It makes no sense for a lightsaber game.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where we are not into it because that's not what we grew up with, but the younger generation is definitely more into this, like you said, kind of Soulsborne style game.
I'm all about those that want to be challenged, but do it with mechanics that make sense for the physics that the game world gives you. A lightsaber is never going to be swung like it weighs 2 tons. It's not a broadsword. I mean, essentially what they're doing in the Fallen Order, or whatever the Jedi series, I guess is what it should be called, is everything is the Darksaber. Every fucking lightsaber that Cal touches is a Darksaber until he becomes friends with it and masters his emotions. He's going to swing it like it's a sledgehammer. Make the game challenging, but with swift, twitchy lightsaber combat. That's what a fucking lightsaber is, okay? They're not going whoosh, whoosh, parry, dodge, whoosh, parry. I mean, come on. It doesn't even look natural. I mean, you should be doing flips in the air and fucking. You know what lightsaber combat should look like? What it looks like in the Clone Wars. All right, when Ahsoka fought Maul, or when we just saw Ahsoka with those fucking training droids, and Kanan was popping little chubs as a Padawan, going, "Oh my god, look at how she moves!" Not Jesus. He's got a load in his pants. Like, what's going on today? Is that the Darksaber? Because those blades should not be swung like they have that much weight. Sorry.
True.
But I think this game's going to be dropping March 23, and I think it's next gen only, which bodes well for at least its systems and visuals and all that fun stuff.
That makes sense. At this point, anything that comes out should be next gen.
It should,
only.
but
it's taken way longer to switch off of the PS4, Xbox One.
We're 2 years, and they still can't keep the new consoles in stock. It's fucking wild, but. Blame it on Joe Biden. All right. Let's get into that fan segment, my friend. We do it every week. One of the only Star Wars fan podcasts out there to bring in their own fans. That's probably why no one likes us. You never know. But we're here. We're going to do it. We're going to get through it. There's always 2 ways to get involved. The one way seems to be like it's dying, and that's the question of the week. I was a little late this week, but it seems the algorithm hid this well for most of you, or most of you didn't feel like responding to the question of the week. But that is one way to get involved. So this week's question of the week is not much different than the last few. What was your favorite or least favorite part of Andor, episode 11, the one with space lasers? Okay. The
one with space lasers. Right. We only have 3 total responses here, so
I'll go ahead. Yeah, I'll get my man Rippick here. So Rippick _ Tan, another fantastic episode. I really enjoyed the dialogue of the fisherman aliens. Okay. I rewatched with subtitles, and those guys have some awesome phrases. All right, yeah. They definitely had a unique bit of slang, but in terms of trying to understand their plan to make money, turn them in, and then fuck it, let's go. Just it didn't really make sense to me, but okay.
Maybe Narcanans are just really flaky.
Yeah, they did seem a little loopy, like they might have been drinking while they were fishing. So Rippick continues. I also cracked up when Cassian went back to his hotel room on Neamos, and there was an alien sleeping in his bed, and that was the same species as a sleeping cellmate of Jyn Erso when she was in prison during Rogue One. Just a sleepy species, I guess. If you note, there was actually 2 aliens in that bed, and it seems like that's like a kind of like a whorehouse where you go with a woman, you do what you do, or you go with anything, do what you do, take a shower, and then become a tourist and get arrested. But that wasn't Cassian's home or anything. I hope everyone understood that he broke into that hotel room to get his canister of credits and shit. All right, good.
Yes. Yeah,
Sometimes I go to Reddit in the mornings because I always do a big spoiler discussion, and dude, some of the hot takes on there remind me why the Earth and humanity aren't long for this galaxy. It's like, what show are you motherfuckers watching? Like, really? That's where your brain goes? Like, I mean, there are people like, oh man, I can't believe Cassian's house was still open on Neamos and the Empire didn't. I'm like, what the fuck? Like that's what? But hey, it explains a lot, right? Like, I don't want to get into it, but it explains a lot. All right, go ahead for the 2 comments here.
The 2 comments here. One is from at Star Wars _SW _Black series _ series _ clip. Says, hands down, Luthen's ship stole the episode. How badass was that thing? It was also very cool to see the Cantwell class thruster cruiser get some solid screen time. Just a great scene, and Skarsgård plays the character like a boss. And then 2797 Studios, our good friend Bat says, pew, 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 Luthen's ship was probably my favorite part of this last episode. I will say that given that all of that, like most of these responses were like, that ship at the very end was cool, might be why the responses are a little low. Yeah. We did say it was kind of a setup episode this time around. So no surprise there. But it is kind of disconcerting when like people are like, yeah, the coolest part of that whole episode was the ship.
It stands out, right? Flashy stuff, man. Yeah. In the end, that's what Star Wars fandom comes down to: laser lights and flashy shit, and pew pew pews, just like Bat's saying here, or his official title of 2797 _ Studios.
27.
Yeah, Bat did sneak in here. He's back to work, back in the real world. So like Tones, we're gonna miss him in the live streams here and there. But glad he still made it in. Hey, if you guys want to join in, look, we do fan stuff. We talk about you. We interact with you in the live stream. Sometimes we yell at you. Sometimes we fight with you. You never know. But that's the Star Wars Time Show. All right, man. So that was the fan question of the week segment. Now it's time for the next opportunity for fans to get involved with an episode of the Star Wars Time Show, and that is via our top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week. So this week we are breaking down awesome shots, awesome creations. It doesn't matter. It can be photography, art, poop. We don't care. As long as it's Star Wars, let us know about it. But we're covering 11/15, 11/22. So to get involved here, check for us on Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. Any of your Star Wars content, make sure to tag Star Wars Time Show and then use hashtag Star Wars Time Show. Throughout the week, I will share various shots that live within these tags and hashtags. And then on Mondays, at least when he feels like doing it, Nick will pick the top 5.
I completely forgot this. I didn't even realize until we started the show.
No, I was like, Nick, he's on holiday mode, so I'll handle it this morning. But yeah, Nick,
holiday mode for me is like all of my clients starting their Black Friday sales at the same time.
Yeah. So I made the choices this week, which is not my favorite, not because I had to do the work, but I like when Nick surprises me with the shots because I've already seen all these, so I kind of know what's coming. I do like it better when Nick picks and I kind of see what he thought was cool. So now you're just getting another dose of what I thought was cool this week. But that's how you get involved. And here we go, my friend. Who did I pick first? Someone I think you also would have picked because you always go for at Lionworks when at Lionworks brings real life to Star Wars, in particular, The Mandalorian and his cub, Grogu. So
it's such a fun shot.
Yeah.
The McDonald's Happy Meal for little Grogu and his bassinet. And you even get the big old golden arches there in the background. I mean, it's so incredible how detailed this is too. Incredible amounts of detail while also fitting in like a space McDonald's into the background.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming the McDonald's sign is practical, but it could be digital. The Happy Meal that the Din is kind of taunting Grogu with definitely looks like something that was printed out and colored in, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's like, hey, we never knew on Arvala 7 they had a fucking McDonald's, and this is what Grogu and Mando got into after they checked in again. Well, I guess Grogu wouldn't have been there. So this is down the line. This is as they're kind of visiting the galaxy in between season 1 and season 2. But they stop by the McDonald's on Arvala 7 and get Grogu a little Happy Meal, and he looks extremely pleased to be getting some cholesterol-inducing food.
Indeed. So at Lionworks Studio, at Lionworks on Instagram, not Lionworks Studios. That's a different thing. Good stuff there. Next up in the top 5 this week, Matt has chosen
One Way Out.
Bill's
One Way Out.
Bricks.
One Way Out.
And yes, indeed, the One Way Out. So are these? So Matt, what we're seeing here is some Lego figurines. Harkening back to the Narkina 5 times on the
it's literally the one way out, like as Kino was saying, one way out, and they're all running out the hallway to the exit to make their egress. That's what Bill's Bricks with a Z captured here, and Nick, they almost it's almost like our boy, what's his name? Like the master Brick Panda. Where you're looking at these and you're almost like, is Bill's Brick creating these in like a 3D software? Are these real figures? And
that's what I was going to ask you. Is like, there's like,
because that's a Kino Loy minifig and that's a Cassie minifig, and they're fucking perfect. They got the prisoner uniforms, everything. You got other prisoners behind them. So if Bill is watching, hopefully they can share with us, or maybe they'll leave a comment if we share the post tomorrow after they view. But I imagine, Nick, this is a mix of like Photoshop manipulation with practical Lego pieces. Because I do know Bill's Bricks is a big MOCer, like a my own creation person, where this person has created Star Wars sets that don't exist just because they're fucking expert level Lego engineers. And that's what we're looking at here. I mean, this shot from Bill's Bricks of this Andor scene is not a set you can buy. So I think Bill MOC'd the fuck out of it, and then I'm assuming had to use some form of digital wizardry, or possibly some of these Lego minifig customizers already have Kino Loy and Andor figures out there. But I'm a huge fan of Bill's Bricks, at Bill's Bricks, BRICKZ on Insta, because of their Lego skills.
Oh yeah, incredible Lego skills here. No, I checked the regular post and doesn't say that these are custom, so I'm just going to assume that the Photoshop wizardry that Bill's Bricks may have came in handy here to really give this shot some good Lego Andor vibes. So
oh yeah, I mean look at this other set on his page there. I mean, the dude just Coronet City Corellia 6ABY. I mean, it looks like he built this for another Lego collector, but that's what I'm saying. That's kind of what Bill's Bricks does. He's someone I'd imagine you could probably find on Lego Masters, but mostly does it with pop culture stuff with a heavy slant on Star Wars. I mean, look, he's got his own custom Jedi archive sets. I mean, just fucking killer stuff. If you like the Lego for sure.
Yeah, it was like next level Lego stuff here from at Bill's Bricks. So make sure to go give them a follow. Next up is a favorite of both Matt and
we're
mine.
We're gonna have to drill into this one, Nick, because this is more than just this shot. But go ahead and blow your load on the shot first, then we'll dig into the magic.
There we go. So we have a shot here from at visual_approach_photo, and it is an absolutely beautiful pulled out shot of the Razor Crest inside of a hangar with Mando standing right outside of it. And I mean, we all know that Sean, aka Visual Approach, is always heavy on the detail in his shots, but what we see here is just some like real next level stuff. And if you go to his actual page, the shot that we have featured here is just the first one. There are multiple shots here, and what you get to see is more inside of the hangar.
It's all practical, man. He built this fucking
hangar.
hangar. The dude built this fucking hangar. Like, look at this thing.
It's crazy.
Look at this thing.
You get to see Boba Fett standing there with an AT-ST walker. And then the camera shot that kind of takes you inside of, like he has like a video camera shot that goes inside of the hangar and shows you all the details, all the building that he did for this diorama. And the lighting behind it and all like the full setup. I mean, it is absolutely insane the level of work that he's put in.
Obscene that he has these abilities. Like, this is ILM level model building at this point. Like, this is beyond just making backgrounds for your fucking toy photography. This is full on Sean built an ILM quality set that could be used to film miniatures on a Star Wars movie. It's wild, man. I mean, everything in there is handmade, handcrafted. The stone walls, the Empire, style paneling. He made all that shit. Unbelievable. I mean, this is why people like Sean, have the followings they do and produce the level of art they do, because they have the ability to do this shit. Not only take the great pictures, but envision this diorama and build it from scratch. Using lessons from the ILM legends. Like, he's like, since the release of the ILM VFX documentary on Disney Plus, I've been itching to build something, and here it is. Like, he's literally being motivated by those dudes from ILM in the 70s to make these practical sets. It's great shot, but really the true gem of this scene is the diorama he built. Just unbelievable. I don't know, like, if he has a whole separate house at this point to keep all this shit in, or if his wife has moved out, but I'd imagine his garage has been overtaken by these sets, because I mean, this is for 1/18 scale, so the 3 3/4 inch, but it's still fucking huge. I mean, the fact that the Razor Crest fits in there and it looks small in the image, but I can tell you it is big. That is big, very big.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have like pets live in this fucking diorama. That's how big it is. Throw a cat or two
just
in there.
have it be like a small dog
exactly,
house.
Exactly. That's the type of scale we're talking about. So kudos to @visual_approach_photo for the shot, but more importantly for those fucking ILM level dio building skills.
Incredible work as always. Next up, an appropriate shot here from @TankToys, and what we're looking at is the Rogue One family. So you see Bodhi Rook, you see Cassian Andor, Jyn Erso, Chirrut, Baze. You even see Chopper there in the back getting worked on by
a regular rebel schmo, right? I mean, he's back there too.
Yeah, just some rebel guy over there doing some welding. No, I mean, it's just a great shot of like most of the cast of Rogue One all together, and throwing in a little cameo there with Chopper. These are these the regular like Black Series?
Yeah, so these are Nick. These are Black Series, so they're the sections. But these are the re-releases of the Rogue One figures, so they don't look like they ate paint chips their whole life. So all the face sculpts are improved. Everything looks more accurate to the cast, and it's just a great scene setup to me. It's very similar to some of the shots we got from Rogue One when they're in the hangar on Yavin 4, and these misfits, the ones that want to go and challenge the Empire and Scarif, are all just kind of milling around like, oh shit, they're not letting us go. Gosh darn it, gee willikers. And then they come out, and Jyn and Cassian are essentially like, yeah, let's fucking do this. We're just gonna do it. Who gives a shit? So it's just. It's like using toys to just capture an average moment of life, except life just so happens to be set in Star Wars here, and that's why it's brilliant. Like, it's just they're not doing anything special. There's no explosions. It's the Rogue One crew just doing their thing, biding their time before the big mission.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the kind of like the calm before the storming of the beach.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Good stuff there. Next up in the top 5, and the final entry into the top 5 this week is good old @Lente_Estelar_44. First time feature here for the top 5, and what we see from them is an awesome, badass Boba Fett shot. And when we're talking about badass Boba Fett, we're talking about pre-paint job
That's
Boba
right.
Fett.
Acid wash Fett.
Yeah, acid Fett from right out of the stomach of the Sarlacc. and he's taking down stormtroopers immediately. You see 2 stormtroopers falling at his feet, and in the background, you see 2 more getting exploded behind him, probably from his jetpack rocket.
It's like that hero mode, right? Where, the hero's walking away as things are blowing up, but the hero can't look. They got to look at the camera or look down. And that's exactly what we're getting here. Boba is posing in his badassness. He's standing over the corpses of stormtroopers as 2 of their mates are being exploded behind them, and it's a very Boba correct type of shot. That's badass Boba, not the bozo that we at this point have mostly forgotten about. This is the man in all of his, the Mandalorian resurgence glory. And I think Lente just kind of captured that moment on, what was that planet? Damn, I'm getting bad. What the hell planet were they on? With the fucking Jedi stone and all that shit.
Oh, that's,
Tython?
Right?
There we go.
Tython.
There we go. Good job, pal. Go eat some ginkgo biloba. All right, but yeah, hey, like I said, it's not really a scene recreation, but he kind of matches the tone and feel of that moment from The Mandalorian. There you go. How's that?
Definitely. Well, that's the top 5. Woo! Thanks, Matt, for standing in, as I was an idiot and completely forgot what day it was.
Well, I have a feeling I'll probably be doing it next week too, right? Because you're going on a little vacation, so.
I will be in Mexico starting on Sunday. So Taylor and I are going to a nice little resort in Mexico, and we're just going to hang out for a little bit.
Don't leave the resort. Don't get yourselves killed by the cartels and all that stuff. So
yeah. Now we're planning on just a very chill time in the resort. We're not even gonna be there a full week. We're coming back on Thursday evening, so we'll be back on Thursday.
Is this like is this of anything significant, or is this just making up for your family fall Disney trip? Because this is when you guys usually do the Caminita Disney, isn't it?
Yeah, usually is, but this was just Taylor was like, I want to go on a trip somewhere, and I was like, okay, well, if you can find a trip that we can go on for less than $1,500 per person, then we'll do it. And she found this resort in Mexico. So
well, shit, it's close to you too. It's probably not even a far flight from Austin.
Yeah, I think it's only like a two and a half hour flight or so.
Well, yeah, like I said, don't get yourselves killed by the cartel.
Our plan, we have the resort shuttle picking us up from the airport, and the resort shuttle will bring us back to the airport, and that is the only traveling that we will do.
You bringing any Kevlar or anything?
Nothing like that. Hopefully we won't need it. But
all right, okay. Well, that's as you heard, the Star Wars Time Show is going to be Nickless next week, which isn't as bad as being Dickless, but it's pretty close. So I might work something out with some prior guests or guest hosts, potentially Trevor, because he and I seem we can have some good headbutts over Luthen and if he's a Jedi or not. But I'll figure something out.
Yeah.
I might also just do a solo, but I feel like for the finale of Andor, I'm going to need another voice, depending on what happens. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back. There's always time for Star Wars Time. But in between now and Nick's vacation, make sure to get your happy asses over to StarWarsTime.net. Even if you're a longtime fan, give us a click. While you're there, maybe even tap on an ad to send a penny or so to us, since we make zero money. But more importantly, you go to StarWarsTime.net, because that's our content, that's our home base, that's where you can get all of our links to sign up and have some fun with us. So you can subscribe to all of our podcast platforms, which this show gets distributed to usually on Wednesdays. So keep an eye out on the iTunes, the Spotifys. We're there. That's why it's easier to just say StarWarsTime.net. Head there. There's a nice subscribe to podcast page. All we ask you to do once you get there and click on a podcast platform, even if you've been there and even if you've done it before, just check. Make sure. Have you rated and or reviewed the show? It's everything for us when it comes to any chance at growth. You know, we can all rely on our friends that have been coming here for so long and family members to add to our flock. We need some strangers to find it, and the best way to do that is to appease the algorithms. And to do that, you just, as a meatbag, have to say, hey, listen, Apple, hey, Spotify, hey, Pandora, I like this show. Other meatbags may like it. Okay, that's all we need. So keep it up, please. Think about it. If you're listening now and you've never rated or reviewed the show on a podcast platform, do it for us. It'll take 2 minutes. If you don't like just words and you do want to look at our stupid faces, we also do the live stream. So you can get our YouTube link from StarWarsTime.net. If you scroll down, we got a handy dandy little graphic. Click on subscribe. It'll subscribe for you. You just got to remember to click on the notification icon on YouTube. Those in the live stream, go ahead and hit that like button right now. Leave a comment. Tell me Matt is dumb. Tell me Luthen is this, that, and the other thing. Whatever drives conversation will drive the Star Wars Time Show fandom. Let's do this. We want some more friends. Let's get a whole bunch of people to come and play for next year. We got a season of TV to get through, starting with Bad Batch, then Mando. Don't you want more people to jive with? Don't you want to see who will get me angry next and I'll yell at and lose them as a fan? It's happened. That's why you got to come and play with your friends on the Star Wars Time Show. So there's always time for Star Wars Time. Don't forget it. Hit that StarWarsTime.net. Keep on stumping for your friends. But I'll leave you with this. Enjoy your holidays, families and friends, whatever you got to do. Just remember, if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you. Always.